You fight over some greens. Right?
You a gangster?
Dipset? All right now.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is
Why you said tripping?
this is the pre-show. Just to test shit out. You'll get the energy in the main show. What's up, y'all?
You sound like Russell Wilson getting a contract at 2 a.m.
Ooh.
Fuck Russell.
He's doing good. He's doing the best he can.
No,
Hush,
not for
Tommy.
that amount of money.
Hush.
All right.
Hush, Tommy. Stop that.
So
We ain't got to lift up every black person.
can't say that one.
This is.
That is what we have different qualifiers for that.
We are not singing lift every voice to this nigga, okay?
Some voices need to stay down. That'll be okay. This is the TJ you get when he needs a snack. Needs sugar. No, I'm kidding.
What are you drinking? Is that green tea?
It's green tea.
That's the good brand, too.
Come on.
That's the good
It's that one. It's that one that I buy once, every once in a while.
It looks like real green tea.
You know it's legit with the
Arizona
language on the
version.
They do too, and that's my shit.
Nah, see, there's sugar in that. There's joy. I can't have joy. All right.
Why? Who said you can't have joy?
You can't have happiness.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
So this is a hard and fast, no joy.
Well, not that. It's just more since I'm going to Japan soon, I'm trying to really go all out there. There's a lot of drinking, a lot of eating. So I said, let me make sure my lifestyle is really clean leading up to it. Now they don't tell you really clean means I'm tired, but it's okay because I get my energy from African American individuals like yourselves. So it'll kick on soon.
Well,
it's just a little bit slow.
We aren't batteries. So. You got to pep yourself up over there. Come on.
Yeah. Today you are. It's like, shit. Act like that bunny and just click, right? I was like, help me out, right?
Yeah.
Nah, but also it didn't help that like fucking man, when we shut everything down here, it's like turning on like we shut everything down. I think sometimes Sammy leaves the auxiliaries on.
Yeah.
But when it's down, there's like so many little things that you just don't see. Like I was like, damn, camera's off. Damn, lights gotta be turned on. Damn, I gotta do Dance Dance Revolution just to activate the fucking password on this shit. So we were taking a little bit to
Not the biometrics password Simon says.
Yeah.
Nigga pressing buttons like Star Trek Enterprise.
No, like the recap, the recapture. The captures have been changing, man.
Right. They
So
got the
much.
spinny one now.
Got the spinny one where it's like pair like how do I describe it?
Pair like the animal to the
To the arrow.
Yeah.
What direction?
Recapture?
The arrow's
Nah.
pointing. Yeah.
Now,
Stupid.
One of them was kind of getting me mad because I'm good at math, and it was like, all right, what's the square root of pi? I'm like, what?
Yeah, it was some crazy
Be
ones.
like, square root of pi. Hold up, let me pull out a calculator. It's like, no, nigga, try better. Just dumb. He was actually like, hey, the fact you couldn't get that off rip means you are a human. Good job. I was like, how does that make sense? Are you trying to get me wrong?
I really dislike the poor quality photos where they ask you to find 5 palm trees.
Yeah.
Like, is that a palm tree? And you put like a bush and just other greenery around.
Actually, you know what? The tree ones are tough because they do be like, test your botanicals. You know,
Find all the redwoods.
But no,
shit like that. Get the fuck out of here.
It's the one where like they say tap all the pictures with the street lights.
Yeah.
And it's like that one corner that's in the picture that's like half a street.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we gotta tap that shit too.
Yeah.
Golly, man. Recapture is fucked up.
I thought they were getting rid of that shit.
No.
Because
Google bought it. Google bought Recapture probably in 2008.
So they're the problem.
Yeah.
All right.
But you really start to think about man, like there's so many ideas just ain't there no more. You know what I mean? It's like I feel so uncreative. It's like, what can I make? What can I bring in? Listen, recapture. That's smart. That's the smart thing. How to make an experience miserable. So, make sure that you're not a bot.
Right.
But nah, I was telling Jordon that I feel like, have you seen that cat driving meme?
No.
Man, today I felt like that because I be just, man, I'm on a wave today. It's kind of moving. So, man, I don't know. This one gets me laughing all the time. But my bad. Let's start off with. We'll save your days for the actual show. We'll start off with what y'all seeing this week? There's news, TV shows that you've been liking and vibing with.
Not watched the show.
Not watched the show either.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch The Other Black Girl. That's on Hulu.
Yes, I saw
They have requested us to watch that.
We should. We should.
And we should. We totally should. And I had intended to do that today. But you get this, TJ. So you'll get it next week.
That and what's that Lakeith Stansfield movie?
Oh, Changeling.
That, but it's one that's like the Book of Joseph or something like that, where he's like trying to rip people off, playing like someone like a miracle healer.
Oh, what's that on?
It's going to be on movies or in theaters.
But
I forgot the name. It was like Book of something.
Oh, okay. No.
Pretty interesting, but I have not seen any fucking show now whatsoever.
Yeah, it's been bad. I've started that job, so I don't.
Yeah, you get that blackout period where you just
gotta shut everything
down.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because by the time you get off, you're ready to go to bed.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I know this is bad. Ahsoka. I heard it. I don't know if it's over, but I heard the last episode was decent. I know Star Wars it's played.
I'm
played
just
out.
over
We've gotten
it.
to the point where,
I'm just over that whole Star Wars universe aspect, and we all know that the best show on that is Mandalorian. I don't think
not even anymore.
Really?
Yeah, Andor is the best show, and they made that shit by accident. Like that.
I have yet to see that show.
Yep, that one.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's good. I think it's worth seeing.
Okay.
Man, I've been. How do I put it? Well, first, let me get this out of my system before I dive in. Y'all know how I feel about Star Wars. Fuck Star Wars. This is the one I be talking about.
That's my shit.
That's my shit. Dog, no, that's me. I said, literally, that's me right there. It's like, that's it. Yeah. Barely hydrated and on caffeine with a Rice Krispie. I'm hungry. Hungry as hell. But nah, the best part of Tom, I'm surprised you ain't seen this.
No.
The best part about it be this one. But now, hold on. E-Dog.
You got the big speaker in the trunk?
Yeah. Literally, just rolling.
Yeah.
just vibing.
Yeah.
Nah, but I don't know. That one's just a small one. Like if you get enjoyable. But I haven't. How do I put it? I recently watched. Because I watched the One Piece show. Which we
I've seen some of it.
How was that?
I have to save it for the review. That
I'm not on that, right?
No, you good.
Okay, I don't even know how to answer this because he takes it real personally. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. It was watchable.
Have you seen? Wait, how many episodes did you watch?
4.
The back half is the best half.
Really?
Yeah, you see the better half.
It kept me interested in wanting to watch more.
The back half is what I think a lot of people were sold on.
Okay.
I think you'll. I think you'll really.
Starting off, I'm like, this shit's terrible. This is Cowboy Bebop 2.0. But as it went on, it gets better as it goes. And so I figured, hopefully that is how it stands. But then I start reading reviews to where they're like, oh, well, the last half is boring and too focused on, I guess, character. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's weird because a lot of the reviews were the reverse.
Really?
Yeah, where the main, because it gets into, the black people show up. So I'm kidding. You don't get that joke. Look, fishmen are black. Fishmen are black people. Okay. All right, it's just.
Oh no, they're the villains though.
They're not only this time. They're not really the villains. All right, in the grander scheme of thing, fishmen are just pissed off people who are like, y'all keep on oppressing us. He says that. He's like, y'all just oppress us. So he's just mad.
Did you see the trailer for Aquaman 2?
I'm gonna pass on that.
The trailer looked. How do I put it? The trailer. The only thing that came out of that, I was like, CGI looks good, but of course it's been on the shelf for
if it ain't fine tuned.
If it ain't fine tuned by this point, that was it. That's the only thing.
Terrible.
I don't want to see it.
I like one of my favorite comic book villains is in it, but I don't think.
I mean, because he's a brother.
They did have a black man. Oh shit! Now I gotta see it. Fuck, they got a black man in there,
right?
With money.
And the villain.
He is the main villain.
Come on, Killmonger.
Hey, look, I'm just heroes and villains are just titles, all right? You know.
Yeah.
You can go to a movie rooting for anyone you want to.
Look, I didn't even think Killmonger was a villain.
I didn't either.
I was like, oh,
this is just a misunderstanding.
Right.
Y'all can just talk.
Sit down and talk to each other. I'm pretty sure.
Sit down and talk. Yeah.
I really was. Man, Killmonger really have you be like, well,
he ain't really real
he
long.
has a dialogue.
Right.
It's like,
I think, like I said, the only gripe that I had about that is that he should have been the main villain. I didn't understand why they had Claw and then him. I was just like, no, they shouldn't have Killmonger be the main villain.
Don't waste Claw. That's his main villain. That was the whole.
Claw can beat the third.
Yeah, they need
Black Panther.
Yeah.
Beat the colonizer.
We got a T'Challa on deck. I don't know when he's up.
When the time skips by.
I don't know. They're going to have another blip, huh?
Right. Speed it up.
Get John David in there.
Which, I got an unpopular opinion. I think John David is overrated.
Nah, I believe that too.
Yeah, he's kind of like Michael B. Jordan.
Speak.
No, I didn't. We're not going to pile on today.
We done already got on Russell Wilson's ass.
Who's some white people who fucked up this week that we
No. Go ahead, speak.
About what?
Since you want to choose black people today, huh?
No, you're doing great. This man right here is doing great. There are a litany of black people out there doing fantastic.
That's what I thought.
Hell, those two that we just named are doing great.
Who?
Michael B. and
absolutely.
And Denzel's son. They are doing fantastic. That Nepo baby shit is a motherfucker. Huh? Man.
Come on now.
You know it's true. He ain't bad, but he's not good.
Yup, and so I was like, I'll turn it on for a little bit. There we go. Nah, dog,
His voice changed it.
Right. He went smooth to animated. I'm like, God,
y'all,
that's a flip of the switch.
Y'all see the magic behind the scenes. What you saw there was authentic TJ. But straight up, look, I think it's this whole thing where you can be proud of actors, you can be proud of different performers, but hey, we could still be critics. You know, that doesn't mean you don't get a pass, and it's okay if you don't vibe
We're
with a certain
allowed
critic.
to. Like, normal critics these days aren't. They gave The Harder They Fall positive ratings. Shit is terrible. I hate that movie so much.
Oh, that's another show I want to see.
What?
The guy who did Yellowstone is doing Bill Reeves, the black sheriff, David Ollawam. I think Ollawam care. Bass Reeves. Yeah. I want to actually see that.
I do too.
So
he's not a bad.
He's actually Taylor Sheridan is actually pretty good.
Very good.
He's a good writer. Yeah. The fact that they want to make this show impressed me the most.
Me too. I was surprised. I was like, David Oyelowo.
Yeah, he's executive producer. Yeah.
Big part of it because he wanted to play him.
What?
I'm like, how the fuck do you know who he is? A, and B, another British black man coming taking American black man jobs. I'm fucking around. I'm sorry.
Well, don't worry, Tommy, because today's topic's all about
hot button. I'm sorry.
You know what I mean? Technically, our souls are all connected to one place.
It is.
All right.
Every black person in the world can be traced back to one location.
It's very simple. It's big ass location.
It's kind of cool, yeah.
And I try, because there be some.
Of course, we don't know ours. Good job, but you know yours. Thanks, America.
We were in the bushes, nigga. We hid good, all right?
Touche.
I was like, I can't help it. Right?
To the victor goes no slavery.
Right.
Good job.
It's like, we just happened roll the cards, all right? Don't know what to say.
Right. Happens.
Yeah, it's like people tell us like, man, how do you feel? I'm like, I don't know.
So funny story.
I mean, hold on, but let me phrase that. I don't know how I feel about not being like, because you can't say, dang, not it puts you in a hard place because you be like, I'm not mad that my family.
That's fucked up, huh, TJ? You know what that's like.
I get the impact, but actually, what I think today's conversation is going to start to breathe about, and what I wanted to really highlight is more so, I think the impact gets often told about, bringing the people here, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't ever get highlighted. What happened to the countries that you're ripping these people away from? And that is something that's why I'm saying it's a universal impact in terms of what actually transpires. But gotta save that thought process for the actual show. I'll flip it in just 2 seconds. But since it's been in the back of my mind, I do want to see Ahsoka just to see it. Just because, I don't watch every Star Wars thing. I'm not compelled to. I don't watch every Marvel thing. You know that.
Can I recommend something if you have the time?
But Andor is something I still want to make my way through.
Fantastic. But if you have the time, go on like YouTube and do like a video of Rebels and what was the other VeggieTales Star Wars shit?
You mean Clone Wars?
Clone Wars, yeah. Like, because it's a lot of that shit's tied. It's all tied into it, actually.
Oh, no, I'd actually go back. And you know I can slam jam a cartoon real quick.
You love it. So, yeah, a lot. It's just connected with that. So, a lot of those characters you finally see in live action.
Well, isn't there another third one? It's like there's Rebel, Clone, and there's another one. Bad Blood. Yeah. I'll watch that.
Bad Blood, one of the two.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
Ooh, wee.
I don't know. I'm not watching that shit. I'm supporting Rosario Dawson. That's what I'm doing.
Well, before we hop in, I got to do a little bit of a check. How are the Giants doing? Giants versus the 49ers.
It wasn't looking good.
Snap.
Oh, no. Don't know. You picked the upset, didn't you?
I'm kidding. No, the 49ers are winning.
Oh,
but
good.
That's a close score.
The Giants scored, which means we're a better team. Not anymore. We're a better team as of yesterday. We're a better team than the 49ers. I'm hurting, y'all. I'm hurting.
Y'all play them next week, do you?
No, we play them. Actually, yes.
Y'all play them next week.
No. We play them week 5.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So they play them soon. But we don't play them until December.
Oh, the 49ers? You get them worn down. That's not fair.
That's what I'm saying. The whole season done passed that particular point. We might be sending players out.
I was like, no, y'all going to get beat up, but they beat up too. The 49ers, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Their players are going to get injured.
Sure.
But right now, the Cowboys are getting hit pretty hard. They didn't deserve it.
You got one dude down.
That's more than one dude.
That's why I asked Mark. I said, Mark, is this a big problem for your secondary? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, well,
he's a Colts fan.
Well, no, he's a Cowboys fan. Mark will tell you anything otherwise. There's a Cowboys fan.
You need to make him rep the club, man. You can't have people on here just, get on that. You're a Cowboys fan. You're gonna have somebody sitting up here saying they're not.
Yeah, don't.
And they are.
Yeah, sir. You're getting an internal complaint. It's landed on HR's desk. Oh snap! Hey, Tommy, we need to talk on the side.
I don't think it's that. Is it that bad?
What you mean? Oh, losing Diggs
for the season?
Yeah, it's
really?
He,
how?
Well, because the problem with our secondary last year was the side he wasn't covering. That was the whole thing. Now we have Stephon Gilmore. It's fine. We have the depth, but it's not as though. I'll put it this way. It's not as though the defense is just in shambles.
Right.
It's not that. Micah's fine.
Better knock on wood, man.
It's an injury-prone season for everybody.
It's a turf. Get it away. But no, he is an all-pro player. Don't forget, these last 2 seasons, there was a season where he got an interception every single game for a whole streak. He is a factor, X factor. Right. Mm-hmm. So it is a matter of it's like we're gonna feel it. But I would say that we have enough depth on defense.
That's what I was saying.
To make sure that there is a bit of flexibility there. Yeah. It's not as though it's. I would assume. Fingers crossed, we'll figure out another X factor that we can either probably add into addition to complement. But hopefully, I'd actually say that fortunately we did pick up Gilmore, which was a steal. I think it's the dumbest thing to let the Cowboys get that. So the other side should be okay. But not here to talk about football. We're here to talk about the people. So I'm going to run the intro, then we're going to get started. people. What's up out there? How you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of the Blaxcellence. Oh, you might be asking where I'm getting all this energy from. Well, I'm getting all this energy from the kinetic energy that I'm getting from across the room. I am surrounded by wonderful people today, and I'm excited to dive into the show. But before I get into it, my name is TJ. Welcome to what we call the Blaxcellence Podcast, where you can tune in for everything that is black and or excellent. Sometimes not so excellent. Sometimes actually foolishness. Sometimes whatever we can. But we do spin around as many black topics as we can. Whether that's finance, history, today, and or sometimes TV shows and food. But it's never just me. And join us again. Ooh! Decided to get back in his rhythm. I'm actually going to start with the man across from me, Mr. Jordon, what's up?
Oh shit, I thought you were introducing Tommy. God damn.
Yeah.
Rolling out the red carpet.
Yeah.
Don't worry, he gets the bone. Hey, what up? You back.
I'm not even gonna say shit. I'm just gonna be like,
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome to the Blaxcellence, aka the Hotep Hour. I am your host, Hotep Jesus.
Hey. You know corn, my brother.
Right? Bean pie brother. Next to me is Hotep Tommy.
where's my glasses and bow tie?
Right? Come on, Hotep. Malcolm X.
Broccoli is man-made.
That should be a subtitle. The Hotep Hour. Every nigga wearing black, orange, green, red colors and shit. Every show.
My brother.
Hey, I don't care what anybody says. The best one was that episode of Martin when he was in jail.
Oh my
And
God.
old boy pulled the book out and it's like, this book would be, these white pages would be nothing without these black words.
The ink relates to the blood of our ancestors. I'm like... No, we do. Think about it. Shout out Rico Hero to the Tangus up, repping the Blaxcellence. Lots of love.
Oh,
hey, I'm never gonna say no if you guys want to. Man, Serenity, I love you. Leave it to you. But I'm never gonna complain if you guys want to support the Blaxcellence. Give us a little bit of love because it's the greatest indicator of how much y'all guys are vibing with the show. Now, don't worry, y'all know that y'all guys love the Blaxcellence, right? But you know, numbers and all that kind of thing. But I do appreciate all the support any given time. Really love what you guys are about, and thank you, Rakeem.
Thank you,
see that little
Rakeem.
sprinkle there too.
Thank you.
Appreciate
So, if you didn't notice, I think I put the title as the origin of Blaxcellence, and you might be curious. Don't worry. I mean, you probably. After you read that, you should have read the second part, which was explaining what we're talking about. But if you didn't, we are going to be talking about an area of history, a portion of history that you've actually asked me about.
Yeah.
Something that
And
I'm
as
curious
of late,
to talk
I'm
about.
starting to see more people acknowledge actually exists.
Oh, yeah.
Because apparently people thought it was just, a bunch of just black-ass people running around a desert, I guess.
Which
With
is the
sticks.
case there sometimes, but more than
Fucking
that,
paint the richest man ever to live.
we will get
that's what
into
I'm
all
saying.
those
Crazy
things.
history. I bought Woman King today.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah.
See, you came in inspired.
Yep.
But it's all about African history, the origin and the roots of all this delicious melanin. And now I want to start with that real quick because, first of all, Rico Hero, thanks for the other 5 subs. You really out here saying, I'm going to support the Blaxcellence myself. I love black people. We love you. But
Black people.
no. You get one of those. That's still on the shelf. It's on the shelf until what is
What
it?
are you
No. That's an 100-year turnaround. It's just like in 21, 23. We can bring that back. But in terms of one of the things that I think a lot of the disconnect comes from, rightfully so, and I think a lot of cases are there's some black people who are like, man, they don't really acknowledge the African side of the masses or of the culture, the origin, mainly because they're like, hey, I've never been there. I don't have any roots there.
Absolutely.
I don't really understand that layer, which, hey, that's not on you, my brother. That is the 100% a facet of the American system, us being like people being stripped away, and it's created that disconnect. So the way that you feel, I try and respect that as best as I can too, because it's like all my roots are here. But I think it's important, and I try and tell people this from a spiritual lens. Like, there is something I cannot tell you and or describe until you've stepped foot on Africa and you understand what it's like when you see this land of people that are primarily dominated by your like with your skin.
Yeah.
Right. It's just and not even necessarily. I don't want to say dominated. More so like, hey, just living life, exuding where you feel like you ain't getting an eye for some odd reason.
Yeah.
Right? And when it comes to that, there's so much history that is associated with that continent that does not get showcased. That's even difficult to pull up. Man, when I was researching this topic, shoot, you boy, went to the Austin Library, sitting there, and I was like, I had a montage, dog.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like a montage. They were playing drums. It was a whole thing. I was like the librarian was like, look at that brother Reed. I was like,
America theme.
So like everyone was rooting me on. They were like, he's been on the same page for 3 days. I'm like, it's just hard to read. It's like, but there's so much out there that gets masked because it's not part of American history. It's not world history either. It's not part of world history. Yeah. You talk about the silk trade, and you know what they'll tell you? Salt trade or a lot of the spice trade too. Hey, South Africa, Cape Town, boom, part of it. Absolutely. And then that's where they leave it off, and they're like, apartheid. That's all.
I was about to say that.
South Africa is all of Africa, apparently.
And so I want to spend some time genuinely digging up facts. We're gonna learn together. We're gonna spend some time. There's some things I'm gonna school you on. Some things that I'm gonna try my best to learn together with you.
I want to learn about Africa's Granville T. Woods.
And yeah,
you know,
and just even in world history,
you're
and actually,
important figures.
And how do I put it? Serenity, that's a great call out. I took world history. I took AP world history in high school. I took multiple history classes in college.
I love
as well.
History. I took a lot of history classes.
Like I loved culture and literature classes. Yeah. So I took Hispanic culture and literature. I took Japanese culture and literature. I tried to get as many continents as I could because UT just made you take classes. But well, actually, it was because like after a certain, I don't know if it's the same thing. After a certain amount of credit hours, everything else was bonus points. Like you didn't have to pay for anything, so you could just take
actually
classes.
Learn.
Well, you can choose.
You could just choose to learn.
Yeah.
So I
take notes, Ron DeSantis.
It's like out here banning books. It's like banning Dr. Seuss. You reading after your own dog. Like
it was so. I think it was like a congressman who actually burned them.
Yeah, it's Fahrenheit 451 in this book,
which is a great book.
It's a phenomenal book. That one definitely got burned, right?
I bet it's banned.
Sure it got. It's absolutely.
After that Michael B. Movie, they burned that.
HBO kids.
But I took AP World History, Advanced World History in high school. And it's just European history.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous how much they just don't showcase Africa as a topic. And just Randy's point, it's partially because of that brainwashing of like, hey, there ain't nothing important for you. I would say Africa and South America get it the worst.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me what happens in South America. That's the whole thing. But it's like, hey, the precipice of and hey, the reason why Asia gets I think secure is because China. You can't. China, you cannot erase us. It's because these countries don't have superpowers associated with them, right? And so that's where you don't get to learn a lot of the basis behind some of the historical context that's necessary. And when you hear it, it's about the lands getting stripped away, wrecked, disease-driven, all of that kind of thing. And so we're going to do our best to learn. But I do want to start off with y'all two. If I were to say African history, where would you guys start off with? Like, just give me some fun facts that you would know. And then we'll actually kind of go off of that. Yeah, Jordan, I don't know. I said, dun, dun.
Like first thing that pops in the history-wise? Apartheid.
That's fair.
Yeah. Nelson Mandela being locked up.
Okay, Jordan.
I know you came in positive. That's all I got.
Give me a country.
I mean, I don't know.
Kunta Kinte.
That was going to be the first one, but I said I don't want to be disrespectful.
Shaka Zulu.
Yeah, that's actually good.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but I want something positive. You know, we are a positive black show.
No, you don't have to laugh at that. We are.
I was going to say apartheid, and I was going to say the history behind that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm trying to think of the positive aspect of Africa. But
I got one.
What's that?
What's his name? Mansa Musa.
Oh, the richest man in the world.
We'll get there. Yeah.
We got to work our way up.
Cleopatra.
To
yeah, we do have to.
Isn't it African?
No.
You knew exactly what you were doing, right?
Stop it.
Wait, play devil's advocate. Why Cleopatra ain't African?
No, you stop it.
Yeah.
I want to know.
But no. Let me help you out here. Serenity actually pulls out a great point, and that's something I did want to highlight at the top. Egypt is not the only place in Africa. No one talks about South Africa. Not South Africa, Southern Africa.
Mm-hmm.
No one talks about Eastern Africa.
Yeah.
No one talks about West Africa. It's like Egypt or bust. And yes, I love the sands. It's cool. Pyramids are a cool thing.
Yeah. Pharaohs and shit.
There's more shit, all right? So we're going to spend some time looking at that other shit. So I will actually
Cameroon.
I'll actually say, how about we do this as like a pick your map? We'll look into the history. I want to save the ones I know. Yeah, pick an area in the map.
I'm pretty sure that you covered this country because I've mentioned this country and how I respect the fact that they said all of us could go there and be citizens, and that's Ghana.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're a fugitive,
Hey,
boom,
you will not take him.
you'll fit right in.
So I want you to know that first and foremost, and it actually goes into, let me make sure that I'm pulling up all of this, that Ghana was part of Eastern Africa, which was considered, and I want to be making sure I'm right here, which had one of the biggest kingdoms coming up. And yes, let me tell you, when you search up African history proper, it's not as though you're hearing tribes, lands, things of that nature. You are to a certain extent. It's kingdoms, kings, empires. Literally, it's called
empire.
And actually, let's start there. We're on Wikipedia, baby. The best history lesson. It's called the Ghana Empire. Mm-hmm. So early, part of West African history. You have some linchpins so this covers Ghana, Nigeria, kind of the whole nine there. But essentially, so I'll actually give us a bit of context of what made Africa powerful, or at least what was some of the resources that did, because much like South America, where it was resource heavy,
it's all that matters in the world of trade.
In the world of trade, Africa, using Zimbabwe as a principle, before we get into Ghana, is really centered around its resources: gold, precious metals, things of that nature. And so when you think of exports, even now, one of the problems, which, to kind of get these things out the way, one of the problems, using Zimbabwe as an example, is that the gold exports are very corrupt right now. Government ships it, takes it to Europe and takes out money. And there's a lot of hands that translate this, because this country has been ripped away of its resources. So even like the government structures are built on corruption and of themselves. Therefore, you're going to see that prevalent throughout, some of the continent.
Right.
But in particular, because it's such a resource-rich areas, right? When you're not in the desert and you only talk about Egypt, no one mentions how, not beyond gold, beyond diamonds, just natural resources in general. When you think of woods, foods, fruits, all the sorts of things you would think of, it was kind of this hodgepodge of, you can get everything here. A honeypot, if you will, of resources. And so when you look into certain aspects of history in general, even when you pull up Ghana here, and that's why I wanted to highlight it, like gold, and I'm gonna try my best if I butcher any of the names here, right? Just like you shouldn't assume just because I'm African going to land on everything because I'm not from Western Africa. So I want to make sure we're not making that assumption. It's like, oh, yeah, y'all are saying, no, not the same. All right. Like gold will be one of the most prevalent items that are highlighted throughout. How do I put it? Gold will be one of the most prevalent like aspects that will be highlighted, mainly because it's like rich, pretty consistent throughout the continent. But back even then, you would see they would have expansion efforts in the BC age where they'd be. Oh look, and Serenity's gonna be dropping fun facts throughout the chat. But basically, they'd have such rich expansions with the primary kingdoms because they're able to fucking afford it.
Right.
You know how many times you'd hear in European history, oh shit, the kingdoms fight each other, getting like fighting over what? Just territories? Like, no, we got money, bitch. I said, we can develop this. We can bring in these resources. We can export these resources.
So what, like Europe fighting over dumb shit?
Well, I mean, it's still
still are fighting over the most violent continent. Hands, literally, quite literally, but continue.
But even one thing here, when you think of the politics,
yeah,
something that highlighted and stood out in this article in particular was, hey, each day, the king assembled his court. So when you think of the politics themselves, the king assembled his court, allowed the people to publicly voice their complaints, beating drums that resounded throughout the era, signaled the court's assemblage, and people would gather to speak their minds. Whether they were neighborly conflicts, cases of violated rights, the king would listen to the complaints and give his judgment. Such hearings were reportedly peaceful, unless they involved issues of criminal nature. Two of the most seminal criminal offenses of denial of debt and shedding of blood. These crimes were tried by ordeal. So even in the politics, where you think, oh, wow, these individuals would be uncivilized, which they like to paint in media, doesn't sound like a pretty advanced process for what you considered an ancient kingdom.
Right.
And you hear it in Europe.
Kingdom, not...
Again, I'm going to be saying
specific. It. Kingdoms and empires is what we're talking about.
They say it very clear.
Yeah.
I've not gotten into oil. Oil, I'm trying to highlight, is very much it's throughout the continent, but I actually associate it a lot with the eastern portion. It's why you have the issues in Somalia, Ethiopia, like that strip.
Yeah,
that's a lot of oil in and of itself. And so, okay, when I start to say, and I'm using the vernacular, this is just like a little snippet of one little country, just in Ghana in particular, right?
But it was called the Ghana Empire, yes.
Yeah, the Ghana Empire.
There are multiple empires, believe it or not, in Africa. Just so people know.
And actually, we're gonna go into.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I like to focus on this shit, man. That shit bothers me. It's like, no, it was kingdoms there, and because I truly believe people think it's
unruly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Shields and spears and shit in the middle of just brush, and I don't like that shit.
I have a general question. Is some African nations or countries, are they deeply rooted in Judeo-Christianity values?
Would be really?
Because I mean,
the West probably.
There is some bit of Christianity with, like in Nigeria, there's a bit of Christianity there, like a little glimpse of it. But is it more deeply rooted in all the other countries as well too, or just certain countries?
No, speaking of Zimbabwe's case, pretty Christian background, but a mix of things. Not of its own volition.
Right. I get that part. Yeah.
So it very much depends on the colonizing route. So a lot of people highlight the England as being a colonizer there, but the Dutch, French, German all had various different outposts. So it very much depend on what sort of occupation you were getting. For some context, and actually to put it into perspective, my mom, who is in her 50s, not old at all, really. She was around when Africa had its civil war, like Zimbabwe had its civil war. Wow. So it's not, African history is very fresh in terms of a lot of and that's why when people are like, oh, it's so corrupt, it's feeling, well, these people are figuring things out after, you've had such a long period of being manipulated, ostracized, and not even actually given principles.
Yeah. So it looks like when people are trying to actually get their country back from, it's not always pretty.
King James Bible. I've heard of that.
No, but when we go into, this is, so thank you, you teed me up. Great Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
You know what they called it? Great Zimbabwe was a medieval ancient African city known for its large circular wall and tower. It was part of a wealthy African trading empire that controlled much of the East African coast from the 11th to 15th century. So when you hear about Greater Zimbabwe, essentially Zimbabwe being one of those resource-rich places, essentially was an interconnection of this larger region that was hosted a variety of kingdoms through the southern coast, and or through the southern and eastern coast. Now, when you talk about African kingdoms, these are the first ones that'll usually pop up, and so literally just searching up African kingdoms, you will see that you have. Oh, you're gonna not like this, Tommy. So you will see that there is a variety of different breakouts for what this is, right?
Yeah, I want to put the glasses
So,
on.
Mali Empire, you have the Kingdom of Kush, Uesa Kingdoms, the Ghanaian Empire, Kingdom of Congo, Kingdom of Zimbabwe, Mazi Kingdoms, the Kingdom of Montapa, and I'm not even going to try that one. But these are the different, but you have the three main ones,
Right.
where you highlight, this is the region that we had talked about, right? Mm-hmm. So you really have these breakouts for the different African kingdoms and empires. Ghana being in that sweet spot of, it started with an S, and I'm gonna try and pull it up. But basically, this string of kingdoms here were really, really powerful back in the day. And then in the south, you have this string of kingdoms here, right? And so basically, you had a lot of areas. History talks about this.
Egypt, yeah.
History does not mention these areas.
All the rest of it?
At all.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you're thinking about, and this even goes into the naming scheme, right? Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe had a different name for a little bit, Rhodesia.
Yeah, I've heard of Rhodesia.
Yeah, you've heard of Rhodesia. That was not Zimbabwe's name, right? That was a name that caused problems. So that's where you start even get, like, when you're searching up history, gets remixed, remashed, and all that kind of stuff. Usually you're like, oh, a country doesn't change its name that often. Well, when it's stripped of its rights, that's what happens. But then you see, hey, what are some of the oldest kingdoms? It sprinkles out across the way. Since there's so many different kingdoms, these are all of, and when we talk about old, like, these are the originators, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, no matter, depending on the instance of what your belief system is, the oldest different statues of life have been found, or the oldest different signals of life of what you found are found in Africa.
Right.
Therefore, if your understanding is there, you can make the cross that the oldest kingdoms are also there too, right?
Would make sense.
And so, just throwing this out there, since we kind of done a nice broad little topic before we dive in deep in terms of some particular figures, I'm going to bring them up in a second.
Well, Apocalypse has that's a fun fact. Actual name.
Look at that.
Yeah.
See, everyone's spitting facts because it's all this shared amount of knowledge that you have to get from these individual little cutouts.
Yeah.
And so, Tommy, when you see this and you see that there is a whole map of different kingdoms and regions, what starts to get in your thought?
Anger.
Okay.
Anger.
That's
Why?
good.
Because one section, put it back up. See, that little fucking corner.
Right here?
Yeah, because Elizabeth Taylor was up there. That's why. Like, come on, man. That's the tourist attraction, I guess. This Empires and Kingdoms is the name of this map, as I mentioned. That's what this little first section is about. Yet we don't know about this. Africa's a big-ass continent.
It really is. It is like,
huge.
what, the second biggest?
Yeah, TJ?
Yeah.
Second biggest continent.
Because Asia's the biggest. And then,
Actually, no, I think Africa's the second. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I thought so too. So
I don't remember the biggest, but
ain't that some shit?
Right.
And like the Mali Empire is one that I went down a rabbit hole on. And
yeah,
like,
Asia, Africa, North America, South America.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And so, how about we break it down and we start to learn more about these kingdoms and we'll read them together. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Kingdom of Kush.
because I guess you got it.
So, Number 1, Kush. We're on history.com.
The facts in this chat are amazing.
Yeah, it's actually like
Serenity should be.
It's hard because you'd be like, I'm trying to keep the show going while also reading and trying to juggle this.
I'm like, I'm not gonna look at the chat because I'm gonna look at this later when the episode.
Yeah,
is
like
posted,
Serenity,
okay?
you can like copy paste most of this.
Yeah, oh, Serenity, keep going.
Yeah, because I want all this information.
So, and now remember, going back into actually speaking on religion, when you think of Judeo-Christianity, remember how Egypt had its own sort of like, and I think she calls that out. They call it out a little bit. When it comes to just Egypt, where they have the Egyptian gods, it extends to the rest of the continent. So, like Christianity,
right?
Right, same vein.
Yeah.
But though often overshadowed by its Egyptian neighbors to the north, the Kingdom of Kush stood as the regional power of Africa for thousands of years. The ancient Nubian Empire reached its peak in the second millennium, where it ruled over a vast swath of territory in the Nile River, now Sudan. Almost all of the Kingdom of Kush comes from Egyptian sources, which indicate its economic center was operated with the lucrative market of ivory, incense, iron, and especially gold. The kingdom was both a trading partner and military rival of Egypt. It even ruled Egypt as the 25th dynasty and adopted many of its neighbors' customs. The Kushites worshipped some Egyptian gods, mummified their dead, and built their own types of pyramids. The area is surrounding the ancient Kushite kingdom of Meroe, is home to the ruins of over 200 pyramids, more than in all of Egypt. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's basically the origin story of Egypt.
Yeah.
Shit. That's.
Next up, we have.
So, quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick. What modern day countries are where?
And so actually, let's go ahead and I should have done this for you. Let's pull that up so you can see.
And how has something called the Kingdom of Kush not just been Googled a million times? Where's this show? Where's this Netflix show?
Well, we're making it. This is where it occupied, Tommy.
Okay.
So you'd have it.
right below Egypt.
Yeah, right below Egypt.
Okay.
And let me see if I have one that highlights the modern day countries. That way you can see it.
Sudan?
Probably wouldn't. Yeah, it's a little bit of Sudan.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull up Africa proper.
Modern day Africa.
And so you can see that.
And also great flags. Africa has great flags.
Yeah. So pretty much primarily just Sudan.
Sudan, okay.
Gotcha. Ready for the next
Lil
one?
Apocalypse is on it. Lil Apocalypse and Serenity just need to link up and just make a book.
Yeah, they're on it.
Buy the fuck out of
Keeping
that
us in
book.
check.
Africa, black niggas.
No.
You had it until the last one.
Want that one step back?
Almost had it.
Let's go with the land of punt. Land of punt.
P-U-N-T.
A few African civilizations are as mysterious as punt. Historical accounts of the kingdom date to 2500 BC, which appears in Egyptian records as the land of gods, rich in ebony.
Really?
Gold. Oh my God. I actually don't know what that is.
Which one?
Mirror?
Is it
A-M-E-R?
Yeah.
Or M-E-R? You say M-E-R?
Myrrh? It's like a...
Fragrance, like gum resin. Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, myrrh. Is that how you say that? It's
Myrrh?
M-Y-R-R-H?
Is that the shit from like the
Yeah, that's in the Bible.
Bible shit? Yeah. Yeah, myrrh.
Shit, we learned.
Never knew that.
This is why I said I was stuck on the same page for 3 times. I said these words.
It's in the nativity story. Didn't one of the three kings bring him some myrrh or some shit?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck a baby's gonna do with myrrh. Crazy shit. Yeah,
No
go ahead.
swaggy, all right? All right.
Myrrh? What?
But and exotic animals such as apes and leopards. The Egyptians were known to have huge caravans and flotillas to trade missions to Punt, most notably during the 15th century, where the reign of Queen Hatshepsut, once again, apologies in advance, Hatshepsut, yet never identified where it was located. That's kind of dope. The site of the fabled kingdom is now a hotly debated topic. The Arabian Peninsula and Levant have been proposed candidates, but people most believe that it existed somewhere on the Red Sea coast of the East Africa. In 2010, A team of researchers tried to zero out on Punt by analyzing the mummified baboon that its rulers once gifted to the Egyptian pharaohs. While the results show they remain closely matched the animals of modern-day Ethiopia and Eritrea, the precise location of the land of Punt has yet to be confirmed.
So essentially, this is Africa's Atlantis.
Yeah, basically.
But we know it's real.
Like the land of ninjas. I mean,
yeah, we know that it actually exists, and we legit don't know where.
How you spell this? This punt, like P-U-N-T, like punt.
The ball.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Shit. So this is like where the inspiration of Black Panther came from.
You made the connection.
That's what I was like thinking. Like what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fucking that light bulb in my head.
That light bulb went. I'm like, wait a minute. This is Black Panther.
Kingdom that no one knows exactly where it is.
Yeah.
But it's the real Wakanda.
Yeah. Holy shit.
So cool.
Write this shit down, man. You have a pen?
Yeah.
I really want to
They don't know where this. They don't know where this region's at. This is the land of gods, rich of Nubians. Like, you can't tell me this is not Wakanda.
Ebony's vibranium, I guess.
No, that's what myrrh is.
That's what myrrh is. Shit. I'm like, holy
But
shit.
it literally called the land of the gods.
Oh, Lil Apocalypse. We just referenced Lil Apocalypse here. We got Kush is a land known for having great archers.
Oh, fun fact.
Fun facts. We could do archery too.
So Green Arrow too. Gotcha.
Small thing. Don't let them fool you. And that's one of the things I had to learn when I was an adult. To believe that these colonizers captured these African folks and brought them over here. And I was like, wait a minute, you telling me that we were great boat builders and we ain't came over here already before we were captured?
The Moors, right? Are we going to cover the Moors? Okay.
But that's why I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, from what I was reading back in the day, we were great boat builders.
What I like to think about colonization sometimes is it's either trickery with bribing a lot of the times or disease. Just expose us to random shit.
Right.
Biological warfare.
That's how you win.
And also one of the main things, a real shit, not even just like saying it just to say it, they can control history and how it's written.
Oh, yeah.
And to think that they wouldn't, that's being naive as fuck.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Germany does not talk about the war, right? They have accesses that like
we talk about it. They don't.
It's like
we don't talk about slavery. I'm sure they do. So yeah,
it's like you just send one Call of Duty game over there, they're like, oh shit, my world's rocked, right? It's like,
what is this?
Yeah, Oppenheimer can't even get shown.
Who's this man with the mustache?
No, Oppenheimer.
Like, come on. He's a hoe. Oppenheimer's a hoe.
Agent Op in the chat saying Africa discovered America.
Yeah,
180 years.
They found artifacts in the Grand Canyon.
Yep.
That we were already here. So that's why I was like
vibing.
Yeah, chilling. So it's like, how do we get captured by these colonizers and brought over here? We were already over here chilling
a long time ago. So it's like, yeah,
that's crazy to me.
It's wild.
When I learned that, I was like, our history is lying to us.
Yes.
You had that realization too?
Right. Oh no, my realization was I think I've told you before. Judas and the Black Messiah really messed me up.
Watchmen did it for me. Like really did.
Oh, the TV show.
Yeah,
I love that. I wish they did the season 2. But yeah,
you said right up your alley.
Why did Black Messiah fuck you up?
Yeah.
No, it was the one.
Fred Hampton.
Yeah, Fred Hampton. It was
I could have told you. I knew about Fred Hampton beforehand, but like it always baffled me the fact that not many people did, and I didn't know much about him. I just knew he existed.
Oh, I knew about that. That was something that my parents told me about. Say, if you ever get a chance, learn about Fred Hampton. I was just like, damn, that's what the government.
If you're one of those people who, like, oh, it's Black History Month or some shit, let me learn about something. Fred Hampton should be on that.
Number one,
honestly.
I will say it. The FBI did kill Fred Hampton.
It's a fact. They actually it's declassified.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a fact that they did. But it's like we talk about Malcolm.
COINTEL.
Yeah, we talk about Martin, and like the one was really like the one who found that sweet spot was Fred Hampton.
Oh yeah.
And he was just like, watch Judas and the Black Messiah, you'll see exactly why. Like, oh yeah, no, this man can't exist.
And also why our history gets rocked.
Yeah. Like, we need to erase him from fucking history.
I'm rating from my friend Fred.
Technically modern day. Yeah, like that was the 60s.
They had my friend Martin. Yeah, they did not.
I remember that.
They should have.
My friend Fred.
Yeah, my friend Fred. My friend Malcolm. They were like, but my friend Malcolm might have been a little much. Malcolm's like, nah, my brother. You gotta be about the ride or die.
You know how that cartoon would go. It would be a little white boy and a little black boy, and Malcolm would just be mean as fuck to the white boy.
You're describing Huckleberry Finn. That's what you're describing right now.
I would love to see someone make that cartoon. Key, make that cartoon. That would be great.
Why do black people like... Is it true? You fry everything in lard?
Jesus.
Stop it. Wait, why is that so good? I was like, no, not lard. I was like, why is that so... I was like,
he's spot on.
Yeah, I was like, that's so good.
Don't cook things in lard.
Don't, please. We've learned enough.
You'll die.
It will
Our bodies are not equipped for it.
Not the white kids sound like that stuttering kid.
When you think... Why do black people have good credit?
Where you heard that from, kid?
Someone's lying.
Right?
Flavor. What is Lowry's seasoning salt?
Welcome to Def Comedy Jam circa 1990.
Stop it. Oh, God.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
We're authentically black here.
Hamburger.
But we love
that shit.
We love everybody.
We gotta have an episode of black comedians.
That's true.
We'll get there.
We need to do that.
Next up, Carthage, which you might have heard about, because it oftentimes, this is probably one of the few kingdoms that gets alluded to,
What is
like
it?
Egypt, Carthage.
Carthage, okay.
That gets alluded to in history.
I've heard of Carthage.
Yeah,
Want to hear something else? I didn't know it was even in Africa.
Oh, Tunisia, Carthage, baby. So, the best-known ancient Rome rival in the Punic Wars, Carthage was the North African commercial hub that flourished over 500 years. The city-state began its life in the 8th or 9th century as a phonetic settlement in what is now Tunisia, but later grew to a spiraling seafaring empire that dominated trade in textiles, gold, silver, and copper. At its peak, Carthage Empire boasted nearly 500,000 inhabitants, which included a protected harbor outfitted with docking bays of over 220 ships. Carthage influence eventually extended from North Africa to Spain and parts of the Mediterranean, but its thirst for expansion led to increased friction with the burgeoning Roman Republic. Beginning in 264 BC, the ancient superpowers clashed in 3 bloody Punic Wars, which ended at 146 BC, with the near total destruction of Carthage. Today, almost all the remains of the once mighty empire ruins are in the city of Tunis.
Okay.
And that seems dope. That like just as an aesthetic design,
water there.
Water, and
it's beautiful.
Does that look like a tribe? Does that look like a tribe to you?
If someone would just glance at that, it must be like ancient Greece or something.
Yeah,
you know?
That's what I was thinking. Like, what's that video game? Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
But here's my thing: looking at that picture, you would think that we were great swimmers back in the day. So where did that disconnect come into here?
TJ?
Like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. We were near the water. We were great. What I'm assuming we were great.
Assume most stereotypes of.
I don't know. I'm getting baffled.
They didn't
carry tradition.
No, look. For every positive they'd give us, he'd be like, "Y'all guys got an extra bone, but you can't swim." Like you can't,
People believe that.
And people believe that. I actually really don't know the origin of that stereotype.
The extra, it was funny. I think I saw a study where, I don't know what year it was taken, but they quizzed med students about, like, do black people actually have an extra bone? Or, And most, I think it was like 42% said they believe we did.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we have this.
Some scary shit.
Of course, very scary. Just like how we have not heard a lot of this. We're on number 4, and this one's a fun one. The kingdom. None of this is. It's fun to talk about because we're learning, but still painful. The kingdom of Axum. During the same period that the Roman Empire rose and fell, the influential kingdom of Maxim held sway over parts of what is now Eritrea and northern Ethiopia. Surprisingly, little is known about Axum's origins, but by the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, it was a trading juggernaut whose gold and ivory made the vital link between ancient Europe and the Far East. The kingdom of Axum had a written script known as Ge'ez, one of the first to emerge in Africa, and it developed a distinctive architectural style that involved building massive stone obelisks, some of which stood over 100 feet tall. The 4th century Axum became one of the first empires in the world to adopt Christianity, and which led to a political and military alliance with the Byzantines. The kingdom later went on into decline sometime around the 7th and 8th century, but its religious legacy still exists today in the form of Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
So that's a case in where colonization had nothing to do with the religion. We just adopted it.
We just adopted it there.
Got it.
So there are instances of that. But what I think is actually really cool and actually brings the broader topic when we think of this is another instance. And one of the areas when you talk about inventions, when you think about that, one of the most least known thing is the construction of these giant pillars, buildings, pyramids being the first kind of precipice, but even here we're hearing that there's those massive stone obelisks that are that over 100 feet tall, and no one understands how they were able to do it with technology back then, because you can't even do it today.
Right.
Yeah.
So what always what brings genuine curiosity?
It's only the pyramids. I forgot. I don't know if you might cover here. It's a city that was built, like I think around the time of like Woman King, and its architecture is so. It's very modern and it's very stable. Like it's been around for hundreds of thousands of years, and it has murals and everything is like almost pristine still as it should be. And no one can understand how and why. But I think it's like a weird thing to where it was contraptions to where it could flood itself. It could like crazy shit. Just, it was basically like the maze box from Hellraiser as like a palace or as a place to live, and it's crazy. Like
that's crazy.
It's crazy. Like look up things in both Africa and Asia actually, and it's a lot of modern day ideas and inventions that you're like, that's pretty fucking nuts that you came up with this. And
it is a weird.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Like when you really deep dive into history.
We were great architects. Architects.
Ricardo said it was aliens, didn't he?
Jordan, you were on your monk training trip while we did the Black Inventors conversation. We had the universal statement that we made most things.
Right.
Yes.
So
we did.
And that's where I'm trying to tell, like, you know, this is where I get into, hey, whether you were born, have direct, you know, familiar roots that you're aware of or don't, own this type of history, because it's only founded in, again, these great concepts that have so much layers of intrigue that are associated with them. And in particular, they'll be like, oh, aliens. Like you'll see sci-fi be like, oh, aliens, or
the History Channel will say it's aliens,
and just random shit. Yeah. It's like, no, just scientific, and scientific and architectural knowledge that was lost to time, which is cool.
Engineering,
Is it a concept that there is technologies that we will not be able to understand?
Yes, like
so dope.
That's crazy.
Because it's like, wow.
Like that's the fact that that's the last thing they think. They will say aliens before they say they're just intellectuals.
Black folks can't be this smart.
Figured it out, yeah.
Next up,
that's wild as fuck, man.
This one,
I want the link to that website.
The one that I have.
Yes, I want the link to that, please.
Gotcha.
I got you.
I want all this information at the end of the day.
Of course.
This next one's one I've been waiting on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I know you have. The Kingdom of Mali, the Mali Empire.
Yeah.
And this is where we get into Mansa Musa. But for starters, the founding of the Mali Empire dates to the 1200s, when the ruler named Sundiata Keita, sometimes called the Lion King, which
golly. You telling me Simba was actually Kuta
the whole time?
Oh, he was Shaka Zulu.
Yeah, right?
Golly.
Oh, one person.
You gotta be kidding me, boy. We would do some corny ass shit like that.
And we're gonna take a little bit of a sidestep here because I definitely anytime we get any rulers, I want to make sure we highlight them a little bit.
Wait, where did the idea of extra bone come from? Is that Rumsfeld?
We don't know, man.
Is that Rumsfeld?
Some crazy shit. I don't know what the origin of a lot of these stereotypes even
So
come
they
from.
have a whole breakdown
Figure it out though.
over
Wow.
his peace and religion, Imperial Mali, the death of him, the legacy that was associated.
All this information's been there the whole time.
Well, I mean,
I discovered this dude like 3 months ago.
and we haven't gotten once again.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten to the player in this equation yet.
Legend, man. Fucking legend.
But wanted to just highlight and I'll send all and I guess I'll do my due diligence here. Make sure I send all these links to the Discord too, so that way everyone has access to them. I'll make sure you guys have them. But essentially, sometimes called the Lion King, led a revolt against the Suso King, and united his subjects into a new state. Under Karetsa and his successors, the empire tightened its grip over the large portion of West Africa and grew rich in trade. The most important cities were Djenné, Timbuktu, both of which were renowned as for their elaborate adobe mosque and Islamic schools. One such institution, Timbuktu Sankore University, included a library that with an estimated 700,000 manuscripts. The Mali Empire eventually disintegrated in the 16th century, but at its peak, it was one of the jewels of the African continent and was known for its world over with wealth and luxury.
Is that where the Moors come from?
Actually,
I don't know.
Jack.
I don't think.
I don't think so,
No.
but hey.
Mine says the reason I started looking into it, do they cover him here? We're getting there? Okay.
Let me Google this. That's what
It's
I'm going to Google all
it's
this
some
shit.
interesting shit, man. The Mali Empire is some shit to look up. You want to talk about a rabbit hole?
Oh, I mean, all of these kingdoms are a rabbit hole.
They really are.
But, sorry. One legendary tale of the kingdom's riches concerns its ruler, Mansa Musa, who made a stopover in Egypt during the 14th century pilgrimage to Mecca. According to contemporary sources, Musa dished out so much gold during his visit, he caused the value to plummet in Egyptian markets for several years.
He fucked up the economy.
He said, "I'm so powerful."
Yeah.
Richest man.
He had
So
more gold than he knew what to do with.
this is our first actual side step, which we're going to talk about Mansa Musa.
Thank you.
Of course, we have to.
We have to.
One of the most, and Tommy will agree to this, attest to this. When they mention the richest people in history, they do their best to not make sure that they highlight this individual.
Yeah.
Mainly because when in history, tell me please, has it ever been highlighted that a man is so rich, his existence ruined the economy of a country
Of Egypt.
for years?
Of the great Egypt. Come on, man. Yeah, like he was giving away gold dust to just poor people and they were never hungry again. Like just meeting this man could change your life for the better. And like the fact he had so much gold, he literally didn't know what to do with it. Had no clue. He set out to Egypt with, I think, God damn, I wish you could look up the number. I want to say like close to 20,000 people of his crew and just road trip to Egypt and just could afford it. Obviously, he could afford to bring basically a town or city with him.
So actually, I do have the amount of gold. I got you.
I know that in modern day, be like $200 or $300 billion is what his net worth would be.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Come on, Tommy, I got you covered.
Okay.
Let's pull up the article.
I didn't come prepared. I didn't know this was the topic today, so I didn't come as prepared as I would.
Somebody said Project Brown Mail for Fred Hampton.
So, Tommy, to help you out here,
Help us out, chat. Yeah.
and let me make sure that I have. Yep, you are incorrect.
Okay.
And we'll get into it.
Yeah.
I do want to. I love this. So, Jordon, is this your first time really diving into Mansa Musa?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So, let's go ahead and give a little side topic. Mansa Musa was the ruler of the Kingdom of Mali in 1312. During his reign, Mali was one of the richest kingdoms of Africa. Mansa Musa was among the richest individuals in the world. The ancient Kingdom of Mali spread to modern-day Mali, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea, Nigeria, Chad, Mauritania, and Burkina Faso. Now, he developed cities like Timbuktu and Gao and important cultural centers. He also brought architects from Middle East across to Africa to design new buildings for cities. He turned the kingdom of Mali into a sophisticated center of learning the Islamic world. When Mansa Musa came into power, after the previous king, Abu Bakr, disappeared at sea, Mansa Abu Bakr had departed on a large fleet of ships to explore the Atlantic Ocean. Going back to your point, amazing shipwrights.
Right.
Mansa Musa inherited the kingdom that was already wealthy, but his work to expand trade made Mali the wealthiest kingdom of Africa. His riches came from mining a significant amount of salt and gold deposits in Mali kingdom. Elephant ivory was a major source of wealth. When Mansa Musa was in pilgrimage, his journey to Egypt caused quite a stir. The kingdom of Mali was relatively unknown outside of Western Africa until this event. Arab writers from the time said he traveled with an entourage of tens of thousands of people, dozens of dozens of camels, carrying 136 kilograms, 300 pounds of gold. While in Cairo, Mansa Musa met the Sultan of Egypt. His caravan spent and gave away so much money that the overall value of gold decreased in Egypt for 12 years. That's a decade. Dog,
from a visit.
That's a visit?
From one visit.
I'll do your economy forever. Stories of his fabulous wealth even reached Europe. Catelan Atlas, created in 1375 CE by Spanish cartographers, shows West Africa dominated by a depiction of Mansa Musa sitting on a throne, holding a golden nugget in one hand and a golden staff in the other. After the publication of this atlas, Mansa Musa became cemented as the global image and figure of stupendous wealth. Literally at the time, he was the icon of being rich. Yeah. So I do want you to guess. Really want you to guess. And feel free to swing a little wide here. It can be in the bees. How much money is
was that close?
Yeah. How much money you've already got yours. How much money do you think it is?
Modern day.
Modern day now?
Yeah.
It has to be in the 500s, billions.
Okay. 500 billions?
500 billion.
I'm tapping 3. What we got, Bob? R.I.P. Bob.
I got you here. And let me make sure that I have this.
Oh,
I'm still trying to find this Project Brown Mall.
Yeah, looks like Jordon was right, huh?
Let me make sure.
Half a trillion?
Right?
Would it be half a trillion, TJ?
I'm making sure I'm getting this right. Hold up.
Yes, Serenity, technically, yes, he was the richest man in history. Still to this day. I'm nervous about this. I really feel like I'm on The Price is Right
now. Somebody put the link to that Brown Mall. I can't find none of that shit on Google. Somebody put a link.
Knows the history.
Yeah, put that link somewhere about that. I am always up for reading that type of stuff. And I'm Googling that Mansa Musa too.
Yeah.
Man, dog, I went to like
the internet. We have AI now, TJ. Ask Jeeves. Actually works now after 2 decades. As it should.
It's kind of hard, dog. I'm sorry.
They're actually migrating away from...
No, it is, huh?
Because Jeeves is kind of trash at this point, but that's another thing.
Yes.
Sorry. You speak technology, I'm like, huh?
I have to go to an actual gold gram calculator for this.
God damn. You getting exact. I respect that.
Again, it is exact.
This is factual as hell.
Hey, richest man.
Yeah, I think it is around 500 billion. Like it's up there.
I'm trying to think. How do you translate that?
I'm sure an article would tell you, right?
All right, hold up. This is pause the show for this because I thought I had it pulled up. It was wrong. It was 100% wrong. How much was Mansa Musa worth? Let's go with that.
Modern day. There you go.
Modern day wealth was 400 billion.
Okay.
He's the closest.
I think we were in between.
Yeah.
Ooh, I said 3. Yeah, no, exactly in between.
But essentially, I think back in that time, he was carrying, that would basically be like him carrying 8 million with him.
Yeah.
Just casually.
Jeez Louise.
Yep.
And handing it out to the people.
$8 million in like 1950.
I don't even think anybody's that close.
The modern day, no.
No, Elon Musk is like 200 billion, but that's like the highest anybody's been.
Yeah, no, he was like, I thought like 100.
No, because like Forbes has like a list of, and they keep it refreshing. He's like number one at 200 something billion, but no one's getting close to that.
No.
Yep. Let me go. Let me help you out here. Jordon, before you even get there, the richest people of all time.
See?
Huh.
Crackers.
No monster.
No.
Nowhere on the list.
No, Tommy, that's incorrect.
Oh,
richer than anyone can describe.
But they saved the best for last.
Yeah, he's at the bottom. He's number one. It's not the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Literally, they just put a description there to try and capture his wealth.
Right.
But
it's no description.
On this, but in this like a luxury like calculating website, it was like they just don't know.
Yeah.
They cannot put it into
calculate.
They cannot put it into words how rich he was. That's insane.
Crazy. Yeah.
Wait, what does that article say? The richest
man like ever, like to exist. More richer than anyone could fathom. That's basically what they said.
That's insanity.
They
just didn't even bother.
He said he's so rich.
You said this was Forbes?
Yeah, no, that was a luxury like based website. That was even Forbes.
But here's the interesting thing is if you Google richest man ever, Mansa Musa, he comes up. I'm like, damn, acknowledgement.
Shit.
Come on.
But like,
I'm sorry.
No. But I still think it's not something to highlight. No, that should be something in every economic. That should be something in every history. It's like he's the richest. Yeah. Literally, the person who
in history.
He's Scrooge McDuck. He's my hero.
He literally had
except he wasn't Scrooge because he was just like, gold. I'm giving money away. I have so much.
Apparently, he gave a lot of it away to people. So.
Dog, I would love to see him in modern day.
In gold.
Not Big Scrooge.
Those are your main resources.
You know what's crazy?
That's insane.
It's what's crazy.
Even today, that would make you.
You know how Saudi Arabia is kind of considered, or like the Middle East is considered, like the wealthy region of the world at the moment. Which Saudi money is different money.
That's a whole different. Yeah, it's a whole different money.
Oh my bad. No, but what I would say is, that's just it'd be wild if Africa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a big question at the end. I'm gonna wait to the end. I have a big question at the end specifically. Two of them actually.
Go ahead. We'll get to it at the end. We'll get to it at the end.
I'm gonna say. Okay. Yeah.
But make sure you write them down so you remember.
Oh yeah. Because I want to forget that shit too.
So next up, taking a spin after being so inspired by his richness, his gloriousness, we have the Songhai Empire. And so, for sheer size, few states in African history can compare to the Songhai Empire. Formed in the 15th century from some former regions of the Mali Empire, the West African Kingdom was larger than Western Europe and comprised parts of dozen modern-day nations. This was the one that I had mentioned earlier, where it was like Ghana was kind of being considered in that region as well.
Right.
The empire enjoyed a period of prosperity thanks to vigorous trade policies and a sophisticated bureaucratic system that separated its vast holdings into different provinces, each ruled by its own governor. The Songhai Empire reached its zenith in the early 16th century under the rule of devout King Muhammad Ischia, who conquered new lands, forged alliances with Egypt's Muslim caliph, and established hundreds of Islamic schools in Timbuktu. While the Songhai Empire was once among most powerful states in the world, it later crumbled in the late 1500s after a period of civil war. Internal strife left it open to have an invasion by the Sultan of Morocco. Look, said, I see an opportunity. Come and take
taking that shit.
Yeah.
Taking that shit. Last but not least, the Great Zimbabwe. One of the most impressive monuments in sub-Saharan Africa is the Great Zimbabwe, imposing a collection of stacked boulders, stone towers, and defense walls assembled, cut from granite blocks. This rock citadel has long been a subject of myth and legends. It was once thought to be the residence of biblical Queen Sheba, but historians now know that it was the capital kingdom of an indigenous empire that thrived in the region between the 13th and 15th centuries. The kingdom ruled over a large chunk of modern-day Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. It was particularly rich in cattle and precious metals and stood astride a trade route that connected the region's gold fields with the ports of the Indian Ocean coast. Though little is known about its history, it remains of artifacts such as Chinese pottery, Arabian glass, European textiles indicate that it once well-connected mercantile center. The fortress city of Great Zimbabwe was mysteriously abandoned sometime in the 15th century after the kingdom went into decline. But in its heyday, it was home to estimated 20,000 people. There you guys go. We went through all 7 of the African kingdoms. Hey, how you feeling? What you learning? It's kind of cool, right?
That we should already know.
Yeah, a lot of things that should. And I feel like people are like, oh. What do you mean? Like we learned? So I'm like, no, look, does it hurt to have a section? Like, we hear about all the different continents all the time.
About Europe.
I know about Egypt, too. I would even say, like,
about Egypt, yeah.
Like, you can spend a section, a couple months, learning about the nuance.
It wouldn't take that long.
But I would even say, I think one of the problems, and I'll give this too. Man, it sounds like half these places be like, "Hey, yo, if you weren't there, dog, you
missing out."
Yeah, you missed out. The history, the conversations, a lot of the things were lost to time, which is so painful because you know that a portion of that is likely due to the colonization. And again, this is where I get into the portion of people don't realize how impactful the slave and European influence over these regions were until you start to look at how even history was messed up because of this. Now it's erased. Now you have instances where you cannot find this information, but they have signs, like using Great Zimbabwe as an example, since we just ended off on it, of Chinese pottery, Arabian glass, European textiles on the far eastern, like southern eastern region of Africa.
Yeah.
That means that during that trade period, right? Individuals were finding value that they had to make sure and ensure we're getting to this region inherently.
Oh, yeah.
So somewhere in some history books, whether that's in China, whether that's in Middle Eastern region, whether that's even in, whether that's in India, there are some facets of pieces of information, almost like a modern day treasure hunt.
Absolutely.
That is out there for us to gather and start to bring together to really make sure that this full picture is painted over what happened and what's possible with all of these different kingdoms. And these are just a highlight of the 7, like the 7 great ones. Yeah. If you saw, there was plenty more that happened to pop up, have different cuts out, and we didn't even get into a lot of the main lives of some of the most mythical figures.
Can we do a little section here, if you can pull it up in a time map, debunking, like shit we may think about African history that isn't true.
Let me see if I can get you a couple things.
Fair.
Sorry, I wanted to highlight Queen Sheba real quick.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Sheba, I knew about that. I was like, Queen Sheba, okay.
Yeah,
Sheba. It's Tunisia.
No, it's Japanese, Spanish.
Let's say, you know what, Tommy? I'll do the myths. Let's do the myths of African history.
Okay.
Love it.
That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about learning here. Sometimes you got to unlearn the wrong things in order to learn the right things.
Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and we'll do a couple. Oh, actually, this is perfect.
Okay.
Myths of Africa, Africans, and African history.
Okay.
Let's cover the main base. Introduction. The myths of various people and places can develop and become popular in society for a variety of reasons. Europeans and North Americans have developed myths about Africa, Africans, and African history with the context of their enslavement of Africans, the colonization of Africa, and their history of racism. Racism perpetuates myths of black people to degenerate them to prove that they have no worthy history. The distortion of African history served and serves a purpose to social, political, and economic subordination of African people on both sides of the Atlantic. Holy shit, I need to have this article.
Yeah, right.
Yes, please.
It's a lot.
Ben!
Yeah.
Well, Ben! Let's go with myth 1. Africa has no ancient cultures, histories, or civilizations and has therefore made no meaningful contributions to world history. Subsidiary to this, the values of Westerners hold dear today, like political freedom and democracy, had and have no tradition or history in Africa. First of all, we've disproven this with our just conversation. But let's go ahead and call it out. False. This is one of the most fundamental of all myths and is so strong because African slaves, as dishonored people, were stripped of their history and dignity and pride that accompanied it. Africans not only built so many ancient cultures, kingdoms, and civilization and empires that one person can scarcely remember, let alone adequately study them, but Africa was the center of one of the oldest of all civilizations, Egypt, from which the ancient Greeks so favored in Western history, borrowed and learned from. Egyptians also borrowed and learned from the Greeks, and in their time, the Mediterranean Sea, which both Greece and Egypt were located, was a zone of cultural intercommunication. Finally, citizen participation, autonomy, and local decision-making were significant themes in African political history. Like other areas of the world, Africa experienced significant historic tensions with political centralization and absolute power on one hand, and tendencies towards local autonomy and individuality on the other. The Western world and ancient Greece have neither a monopoly or a patent on these forms of government we now know and value as democracy. That's why we called out, actually, at the top of the show when we talked about the Ghanaian Empire. Hey, he had a court where he brought in, took people's opinions, made sure that was talked about, had a judge, and kind of voted on the issues at hand. That was an example of democracy being exemplified within African society. Africans are primarily tribal people. Africans are organized first and foremost into tribes, while Europes are primarily organized into nations. The word tribe is a European word, not an African one.
Of course.
A term originating from Judeo-Christianity tradition, tribes of Israel. The Europeans have historically used the name Africans, not the term that Africans have historically used to refer to themselves. No one, in any case, knows precisely what a tribe is. There is no agreed-upon definition to the word, not scientific or precise enough in any sense that it invents it in category. Essentially designated as an ethnic group, the term tribe is employed by people who consider themselves normal to refer to others that they consider to be unlike themselves in a negative way. Thus, Americans will immediately think of Africans as tribes, but talk about Norwegians, French, Mexicans, Poles, and or African Americans as ethnic groups or nations in the West. In the West, tribe carries a connotation of socially backwards, not advanced nor sophisticated. Therefore, Westerners employ it liberally to refer to Africans and mistakenly believe that these are primarily African characteristics, like most other myths. And the further problem arises because Africa today, you'll hear the acceptance of European terminology. Some Africans, a terminology employed so much during the colonial period, the early 20th century, that many Africans internalized it and continue to use the term. Like Americans, however, Africans are unlikely to employ the term tribe when it refers to Europeans, because some of Africans employ the word tribe to refer to themselves, but it does not make a tribe any more legitimate than when Europeans employ it. And this is actually one that that even I have to incorporate better. But actually, if you hear me when I refer to my family, I do say the head of my clan comes to see me, not necessarily the head of my, tribe is a tricky word. And yes, it does have the it's so like
I said that's what bothers me. That's one thing that bothers me a lot is that that's why I brought it up. It was just like, because that's a big word that seems to have just a connotation with like Africa or parts of South America in the Amazon or some shit. Like, no, I was like, no. I see what you're doing. It's one of those words that are what am I trying to say? Dog whistle words. Yeah, there you go. It's like a dog whistle to where it's just like, no, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say uncivilized, this, that, and the other when you say fucking tribe. That's why I really want to emphasize kingdoms, like every
empires.
Other empires, just
civilizations,
like every other continent in the world, civilizations.
Or if you want to use tribes, hey, man, shoot, go to Europe and be like, damn, y'all's tribe out here be vibing.
When you think ancient cities, you don't think fucking Africa. Why is that? They had you just described a few.
Well, Tommy,
why
I don't think that is because myth 3, Africans are essentially primitive in lifestyle, art, and technology because few or no innovations took place in Africa.
We just made a reference to Black Panther because of the. I mean, come on.
We discovered a real Wakanda in this conversation.
Right.
I don't know. A lot of these kingdoms be Wakanda in general, man. They're like, we don't know shit. But these motherfuckers rich. It's like,
money. Yeah. We got
makes me want to go into the and to be honest, if you go into the world, I would not be surprised genuinely because of so little is known about these continents. Countries. If there is some hidden kingdom there right now, to be honest.
Could be. It could be a Wakanda there for all the fuck we know. That's how little attention it gets from the rest of the fucking world. Crazy.
So, false. Mention the derogatory word primitive. And many people in North America will think straight away of Africa and Africans. How many times do we still have primitive people living in a forest here and there? Primitive has no scientific definition. Like tribe, it's an epithet, a bad name that Europeans and Americans have traditionally applied to people who live differently than they do, especially those who do not employ the same time as technologies that Westerners today daily live with. Africans do not have a primitive lifestyle, art and technology. They have African lifestyles, arts and technologies that vary a great deal depending according to ecology, personal and group preferences, and economic status, and a host of other factors. Each African society has produced and continues to produce its own innovations in technology, government, social structure, art, and literature. Some Africans employ some of the most sophisticated technology in the world available. Many telephone systems newly installed in African cities, for instance, take advantage of communication technologies that were well ahead of those available to you, the local telephone customer in the United States. Everyone reading this essay of myths can protest the insult if someone called them a primitive tribesman, or to their face, or even behind their backs. Claiming someone is primitive does not reveal anything about them. That is an insult. To top that, Tommy, you've actually heard me say this before on the show. When I went to Africa, back in 2014. Yeah. When I went to Zimbabwe back in 2014, they had employed a system that was like, hey, you pay, basically you deposit, like you can pay, deposit money, do all those things from a phone that was not a smartphone. You just text the number, you start to do those sorts of telecommunications, almost like a Venmo before Venmo was a thing.
Yeah.
Right there, based off it. So the principle of those telecommunications being such well established is actually something that I saw in person. Yeah. And I was like, time out. We ain't got that here. What time out? What's going on?
It's very convenient. Yeah.
But Tom, you had a thought? My bad.
Yeah. Look, I have mixed feelings about Netflix, as most people should. One thing I do respect, and I went down, this is just a show of rabbit holes, black rabbit holes, and I recommend them.
I'm pulling my phone out.
Nollywood. Is it Nollywood? That's what it's called?
Yep.
Netflix has a plentiful amount of Nollywood programming, and it varies, but like it's been a come up of like reality shows, movies.
Yeah, there's an African like Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yeah,
I was like, what is this?
It's one with a bunch of rich people from Africa, and it's fly as fuck.
You
and like
Nollywood?
You look at it, yeah, that like you got Bollywood, which is India, and Nollywood, which is Nigeria, right? Mm-hmm. Nigeria cinema. So. But I mean, it kind of
it gets wild.
It's wild.
It gets
wild.
It's
fun.
It's
like,
funny.
It's funny. It's fun. It's a good time. But just to look at, I like the reality shows more than anything.
Yeah,
because it's like, okay, this is Africa. Yeah, these are classy, very civilized, stylish fucking people. Rich, because of course you care about that. But like the life they live, very similar to the life rich people live. All over the place, and you just see normal people.
True.
It's like pretty common to most people around the world, and I just love that that's now like a thing you can access this whole new, look of Africa that a lot of people I know flat the fuck out wouldn't assume, hey, that's Africa.
Like old Nollywood.
I saw a romantic comedy. It was delightful. It was really nice.
We used to have a stack of Nigerian movies. And, back in the day, you'd be like, oh, this is like the most well shot. And I mean this in the best way possible. Like, it was like had this homey feel of like a home video where you'd be watching like this genuine thing play out. And you're like, damn, are they just recording this? Like, what's happening?
World Star Hip Hop.
Basically,
right? Yeah. Like this is real shit.
Scripted World Star Hip Hop, all right?
Gotcha. So we've got.
Wait, by the way, I'm not texting. I'm actually thinking of questions.
Oh no! I don't. I've assumed.
Because my mind is going off right now. I'm just like,
dog, I literally took a side note to tap. Don't we have a few more, and these ones are even broader. Went to number 4. Africans have no literary, philosophical, and historical trends to enter in recent or far past. False Africans have literary and historical trends reaching back to the dawn of civilization. Although writing was developed in its own in Egypt and several other ancient African civilizations, writing as a technology came much later to Africa during the 19th and 20th centuries, hence why you likely do not hear a lot of those stories. But this is where I'm going to put a little bit of an asterisk here. We'll go into that. But literary and historical traditions do not expand exclusively on writing. Verbal literature remain, and even today, spread the writing as a technology, and communication remains vibrant across Africa. Great African literary classes, such as Sundaita, an epic that stems from historical events in the 13th century, has been preserved as an oral literature and subsequently written down for the enjoyment and edification of those who read. Africans have long excelled in verbal arts, and where writing has a longer tradition, it has excelled in writing literatures over the last centuries. For humanity as a whole, writing is relatively new technology, and several African societies have participated before the modern era, but humans had both well-developed sense and appreciation for history and a fascinating literature before the prevalence of writing itself as technology. This is one of those things where it's like, hey, there's probably a wealth of knowledge that's available if you were to go into the what you would call the village, where you go into some of the more traditionalized areas of Africa, talk and speak to the people, understand what is spoken, because there's so many different dialects, words, variations that extend over time. Writing just happened to not, and which comes as a double-edged sword, writing just happened to not be a factor in Africa, or at least in terms of the history or the way that it's spread. But then you'll learn concepts like, hey, it's not as though it's known everywhere that different clans have, these totem animals, like for my family, right? But you were to talk to me, I could tell you, hey, Zimbabwean people have totems that are based off of their initial family, and depending on your totem, you can
it's actual clans.
Yeah, like I'm not,
really?
like I said, Great Inland Bull is my totem, my totem,
Game
my
of
family's
Thrones
totem.
shit.
Yeah, it's like
houses.
So I could tell, like, hey, if the back of 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 the back, if you are in the same camp as me, that means we came from the same region initially, right? And so there's ways that, like,
wow,
there's ways.
Yeah, it's some complex shit.
Yeah, it helps whenever you're like, oh, that's Ray, my cousin from the cousin's cousin, right? Like it's like that. But
more organized,
right? It's not messy,
but it's more so
my play cousin.
like but it's like carried through your father, right?
Right.
So my mom's clan is a snake. All right, it's not my mom.
My house is Slytherin.
Yeah.
Kinda.
I'm like, what? TJ is powerful. Oh my goodness.
He's speaking tongues. Watch out.
Like, TJ, tell me more. What? Fascination. Fascinating.
So your mom was Slytherin and your dad was Gryffindor. Essentially. That's cool as fuck. I like that.
So I will.
Do you have like a picture of your?
Yeah, I'll show you what I'll actually.
Really?
I have to. Now that we're on it, I'll show you. So totems and traditions. One of the earliest Zimbabwean traditions is the use of totems, and these are often depicted as sculptures that you see throughout the country. These totems are known as mtapas, who are used as the mashona to identify different clans that made up the ancient civilization and their dynasties. The symbols are usually associated with animal names that provide a social identity to the clan. They're also meant to guard against incestuous behavior and praise somebody who recited poetry. There are at least 25 identifiable totems, 60 principal names in contemporary Mashona society. Totems are usually animals, body parts, example, fish, eagle, zebra, lion, monkey, elephant, leg, heart, lung. People of the same totem are descendants of one common ancestor, and the Mashona recognize this totem as unity even across tribal boundary lines.
Wow.
That's cool as fuck. So these things could be around for like thousands of years.
They are around for thousands of years.
So quick question.
Yes, sir.
Or just not even a question, just observation. So meanwhile, while we were doing this with our totems to like incest, obviously gross, this will help with that. England was going real deep into just the inbredness.
Of course. They said the bloodline matters so much.
Just want to put that out there, everybody. Yeah, continue going.
Let me Google that too.
So totem identity. So I will say totem
Just
identity.
comparing histories.
Totem identity is very important at traditional ceremonies. For example, a person of the same totem, even when that person is from a different tribe, can initiate the burial of this deceased. However, a person from a different totem cannot initiate the burial, and if he does, he risks paying a substantial fine to the family of the deceased. If you want to learn some other African coolness factors, I'll happily share some.
Yes,
but
please.
this is the type of stuff that, I'll happily share some stuff. But this is the type of stuff that, once again, unless I told you.
No, I would have no.
Yeah, it's just
wouldn't
like
know at all.
thing.
And it's cool as fuck. Is that most African families?
That's Zimbabwe in particular. That's the Mashona.
Well,
So Mashona being
Yeah. So region.
it's being a sort of people, right?
Okay.
So Zimbabwe in particular. Now, like to kind of keep on going into it, there's like whole articles on it that you can find, artwork, some different things. If you're ever curious, I can always brag about Zimbabwean culture.
It's one of the first African places I wanted to go.
Hey, go.
Because it was the name.
Zimbabwe.
Very good name. Yeah, I was young, so I was like, yeah, I'll go to Zimbabwe.
Just curious, because we talked about generational wealth, right? And these nations are very powerful. So how do we go from that to, there was a period in where there wasn't a lot of wealth being passed around in Africa after a certain period of time, correct? Or no?
It's a good question.
Because I would think that generational wealth, if we're talking about Mansu, we're talking about that in these empires, where did it go wrong at that particular point?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm asking those questions.
I know.
No, that's a good question.
It's like I can only look it up so far.
No. I think that's a great.
But that also goes into I have four basic questions of Africa today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where, what do we think in regards to Africa today? Like, is Africa?
Ooh, let's close off on that. We're almost done. But to your first question, and actually, you know what? Let's close off on that whole thought stream.
Yeah.
Say, dang, that's a really good thought stream. I love that. Want to close out on the myths, and we'll jet through these ones so we can get to that thought stream, because I know we're closing out the end of the show. Myth 5, all Africans are black. To be African is to be black. Africans are not culturally diverse. Africans share an essentially unified culture. I can go ahead and answer this. Africans come in all different shapes, sizes, forms, and different colors, skin tones. It's why when you look and you see Northern Africa, it's a little bit more light-skinned, associated.
I've heard of that.
Associated with what, like Eritrea, like you see it's more. What is it? Caramel, right? And it's just because, hey, that's what it is. You get so
is that
stuff.
like colonization, kind of like the history of that?
Just more so.
That's a good observation.
Because you think that light skin, fair skin.
Well, I think it's a little bit more of a region, right? Like, so think about it. With and there's a couple of different instances here, right? You have, I'll put it this way. Islamic, you're not incorrect, but it's like Islamic cultures are also a similar tone, right? And both of these areas were very prevalent in this region, right? And then you have Greek Mediterranean right across from where Egypt was, where you have that dark skin. And so, you would create this civilization with mixes, but it's also just can happen to be the case, right? We aren't all just I think desert regions in general have the tendency to have individuals who have a bit more of that not completely dark skin tone, more brown-esque. And hey, Egypt is primarily more of a desert region. True. So I'm not going to get into all of the principles of it. Don't know everything, but it's more so that like, hey, you can look like anything and still be African, right? And that, and in the same vein, yes, there are some racial undertones that come with that. But when it comes to some of the actual like ancestry aspect, being black doesn't like being what you'd consider just the blackest of black doesn't necessarily mean that like you can't be any other color, even have another background, because if you're born there, right, then you still can be African and stuff like that.
That's the reason why I brought that up, because in my family, majority of my family, my intermediate family, we're all fair complexion like this. We're not fair complexion, we're complected like this. But my sister, I have two sisters, she's light skinned. And I was like, well, where did that come from though? Yeah. Right? Because it can trace back to my dad's side, his mom, like same thing. Fair, dark like this. But then his mom was light skinned. I was like, where did that come from though? That's always a fascination part. And I remember a young lady I went to high school with. She said, yeah, I was born in Africa. My parents are African. But she was light skinned. I was like, what? All these years I thought that every black person in Africa looked like Kunta Kinte. I know she lying. But no, she said, here's my parents right here. And I just said, what the fuck? That's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, he's right.
That's mind-blowing. Where did that come from? So interesting.
It is.
It's a facet that we think through. And, when you think of skin tones and you think about separation and the ideology behind it, it's just so interesting, because it's like your skin tone's not your identity per se, but the origin and roots of all of us are going to tie back to that continent.
Right.
While you want to try and escape it. So that also means we bred life, a lot of the chances are we bred life to a lot of what your skin tones are considered today. melanin should be normalized.
Another question. I know I got too many of them in my head.
No, you don't.
So you talked about the literary aspect of it, right? So you're basically saying that we were great literary writers, right? Where were the slaves taken from? Bear with me. Where were they taken from? Like, do y'all know specifically what
main region?
Yeah. I asked that question. I asked that question because, not to cut you off, right. Where did the whole aspect of black people can't read come from? If we were slaves and we were great literary writers, where did that disconnect come from?
Colonizers had to just be a thing to where, like, if people assume that these are just savages who can't comprehend anything.
Right.
Again, that just kind of implements the whole animalistic, like,
right,
livestock.
That's the weird part of it.
If you sell it that way, then yeah. I mean, honest to God, like if you sell, like, no, they're not. Don't talk to them. Don't teach them how to read.
But we were already great readers. Yeah,
our language.
Yeah.
But naturally, you go to a completely different country where you.
That's true.
To help you out.
It could be a disconnect of they're dumb. Like, no, you brought me to a completely different fucking country.
So I'll put it this way, right? When you start to, and we can, and actually we'll transition into your questions because I think that'll like have us wrap up really well. No rush. More so, but also branch into a couple of other articles as well. I think it goes into, first of all, the most enslaved region is Western Africa. Like, so so Western Africa, when you think of Ghana, where the Kingdom of Mali was, all that kind of stuff, right? Then it just so happened to be because, where it lines up with the coast, that makes sense for, when you line up with the coast, that lines up with transport, things of that nature. Doesn't make sense to go from here all the way around to here, right? It makes sense to go from here to here. Now, Jordon, you can actually answer your own question when we think of some of the history facts that we learned today, right? Or that we kind of discussed through. When you have the whole origin that we can't read, writing as a technology being introduced rather late, verbal actually being the fundamental driver for
dialect.
How we actually go about some of the conversations and transpire in history, you get and you're like, hey, how come you can't do these basic things that you? Once again, this goes into the definition of intelligence, right? Where it's like, oh, if you can't read and write, that means that obviously you can't operate in the society. Yeah. But that those societal boundaries were only set by Europeans and those who were in the place, to say, hey, in our country, in our rules, this is how you define intelligence. Whereas you go across this African region and you're like, hey, how we define intelligence is, we speak our history, we have our shared culture, we have these things that we understand. So that disconnect when you see these people who aren't speaking or writing in the same fashion as the European and even Asia, even though Asia had its own thing in its own history. Right. That could create that would create that disconnect, right? So, and I think that a lot of the nuances behind the stereotypes, behind some of the interpretations of intelligence, interpretation of understanding of knowledge, interpretation of being able to have etiquette, stuff like that, all stem from this differentiation of fundamental principles in everybody's society.
The domination of a culture.
Yeah, it's literally a matter of, hey, instead of interpreting, oh, this is a different sort of culture that I'm in, this is a different sort of culture, I need to erase what the value that makes them individualistic.
Right.
And that's where it starts to happen.
And by the way, that is the basis of why systemic racism was in science and how they actually justify treating us the way it's
there.
Yeah.
It starts
it starts there. There's the reason why. So yeah, when you brought that up and I was just like, that's the basis of systemic racism in science, their justification of treating us the way they did. Yeah. Absolutely. The extra bone probably came from that.
Bone, yeah.
Ooh, Serenity, I think I might have actually I meant to press allow on your comment. Oh, there we go. Let me make sure I can press allow real quick. Because you had a really good one. I want to make sure that's highlighted. Cool. All right.
So why would slave is give slave? Yeah.
But
true. Serenity speaking that knowledge.
Jordon,
tonight.
Give me some more questions. What's up?
Yeah, your 4 questions.
We just read about it, we just heard about it, about how powerful these African nations were. So why did the Back to Africa movement failed? There was at one point, where there was a movement to send freed slaves back to Africa. It failed. It was like a few actually went back and settled into Africa. So why did that fail?
Difficulty.
Yeah.
It's plain difficulty. First of all, sailing it's not a fun experience.
Well, of course.
When you're stolen and put on a fucking boat, it's not going to be a fun experience at all.
Yeah.
And when did, what do you know, around the time that was this after we were freed?
I think this is 18th, 19th. Oh my God. I forgot what century it was in.
Yeah.
But I remember reading about that, and I remember Marcus
18th,
Garvey.
19th century,
yeah, and I remember Marcus Garvey talking a lot about that too. And I just thought, why didn't we go back?
No, because it's pretty simple. I assume it was, slavery. We were about at least 150 years in at the point where this kind of took place.
That's true.
So, it's just, that's generations, man. See, it's the whole thing of, that fucking Florida bullshit of, it's a benefit. And I'm like, to who? So, here's the thing. I have a question for every white person who believes that shit. Would you say you have a family, and it's hey, learn how to do AI engineering.
Yeah.
You'll be a slave.
True.
We'll own you. We're going to strip you away from your family, your children. We're going to separate them, put them on two opposite ends of the country. But we'll teach you AI engineering. We'll do that for you. And so, but that's fine. Is that worth slavery? Or, is that worth torture? Having your family stripped away? I don't think it is. But on top of that, slavery was 300 years.
Yeah.
So if you knew a skill that benefited you, what the fuck difference would it have made when we're 150 years into this shit?
True.
I'm going to be a slave. My son's going to be a fucking slave. That's not benefiting anyone. So that's one part about this whole fucking thing no one says. And I'm like, no, it wouldn't have benefited anyone for that fact alone. The last generation of slaves did that?
To Apocalypse's point, there are still notable values that did come from that movement.
Right.
Liberia being in particular, Sierra Leone, and a few other. You have a whole list of the most prevalent.
Right.
But to your point, right, when you think about a few layers, it's a combination of things. A, you've adopted the culture. B, get back. You've done this. You think I'm about to go back and get and lose all, or at least there's a fight here that I have to fight because you've put me through this, right?
Absolutely.
Another layer to this, interaction-wise, and actually it highlights it in the article as well, diseases. We've now lost the biological resistance that we once had, so they face harsh conditions. They get back and be like, this is really tough.
Immunity's not built for that, yeah.
Ooh, I just had another question pop in my head. Jesus.
But it's interesting because it's at that point you have an identity variable, but also it comes back to, why don't people make this simple? When people don't like things, and it's an American, and actually it's an American thing in particular.
Right.
When people don't like the conditions of their country, and I mean, actually, it's a global thing, but in particular, it's an American thing in general. It's we will put up with a lot of nonsense.
True.
They'll say, "Oh, I'm going to leave the country," and never do. But leaving the States is a very and when you compare things, right? People from Africa will get here and be like, I'm not going back, right? They like here. Some people are like, I like both. And it's an economic thing in general.
Yeah.
But not let's be real here. The economic opportunity that was established here, at least in the current days, is vast and very helpful. But I think that there's so much nuance to that sort of thought process of how come they didn't go back at that time. Well, at the same vein, how come we can't even get people to travel to Africa now?
Yeah.
Stereotype. Yep. I think a lot of that comes to stereotype. Absolutely. We think that. How many times have I grown up and seen In the Arms of an Angel commercial where that white woman showing them the kids that are malnourished, right? We think that that's particularly Africa. We grew up seeing that.
That
right?
was, I think we asked this question at one point before, what was your first?
Bro, it's the universal. It's a universal joke in the arms. Right. We make a joke about it.
Yeah, that's the reason. I'm just thinking that. Why don't people want to go back now? I would want to go back. If I had the money, I would want to go back.
That's one of the places I would like to go. Was it I think it's called Sun City or something, I believe. Something like that in South Africa.
Hey,
conditioning and propaganda.
Yeah,
absolutely.
South Africa. It's one of the most beautiful cities you'll ever see.
And
it's in South Africa.
Let's take a little positive.
And nobody knows about it. Yeah, and it's just And I remember discovering that when I was young, and I'm like, I didn't know that was even a thing. But knowing that exists, of course I want to fucking go.
Right.
No. Let's go ahead and take a little sidestep. We're going to look at the coolest cities in Africa. We're going to look at some really cool places. Current day.
So anyone can take a trip here.
So anyone can take a trip to it. We're going to go to the most beautiful cities.
Okay.
On list 20, we'll jet through it. Cool. Cape Town.
Of course.
Cape Town,
gorgeous.
It's obvious.
And I'm going to highlight one if it's not available. Stone Town, Tanzania.
Nice.
You have Marrakesh, Morocco, which that picture doesn't do it justice. It's very, very beautiful. No. My mom has highlighted it.
Okay.
Cairo, Egypt.
Of course.
Bidar, Ethiopia.
Ooh.
You have Lamu, Kenya. Botswana. Also, there's buildings and cities.
Yeah, it's not just one bush.
It's not a hut.
It's not just a fucking safari. Like, no, it's not that one tree during the sunset of the Lion King and that's it. Like, it's a fucking place with buildings and civilizations and people. God damn.
Yeah, to your point, serenity, ignorance, and ignorance in the highest mindset. Africa's disease-ridden and dirty.
Yeah.
And disease-ridden.
That doesn't look like, that looks like architecture to me.
That's Johannesburg.
Of course.
Luxor, Egypt.
I've never heard of that.
Nambia. Kenya.
Yep, I've heard of Nairobi. But that looks beautiful.
Tanzania, Morocco. Jesus, what the fuck did that come from? That looks old.
Ginger Town, Uganda. Once again, Morocco again.
Another Morocco.
Morocco's known to be one of the most beautiful places you can go, yeah.
You see that? That's a train. There's trains involved.
It looks old too, TJ. Like it's been there for a while.
Oh, it's acting like.
God damn.
Yes, there are places, village. And you get there by car.
Right.
Go out of your way to get there by car. By actual.
It's like those people who think we only ride horses in Texas.
Boy.
If you think that shit, I don't know what the hell I can tell you about Africa. If you're walking around thinking dumb shit like that, then yeah, I got nothing for you.
Northern Egypt field, Algeria, and then Mali. But I'm going to highlight some that I don't think get talked about enough. I will say this is where my mom's side of the family is from. And I have not personally, how do I put it? I've personally been in a minute. This is a picture of Zimbabwe's Eastern Highlands.
Jesus, looks like Holland.
Yeah, and you have a whole vast valleys, fields, everything you think of.
It's green, TJ. It's green there with waterfalls.
Oh, green.
Yo, you sure this isn't Norway or Europe?
And bushes,
Switzerland,
and hill, and guess
what? This isn't Switzerland, TJ. This is Africa.
No, that's Africa. That's Africa.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. It's green shit in Africa. God damn, man. Just the bullshit that has been put in people's heads, even black people, like just everyone, the world's heads.
The world's heads, because they what they see.
It's crazy, man.
Oh, look, guess what? Fun fact, Tommy. We have what we have resorts.
Oh. Wow. Got a beautiful beaches as well, huh?
Yeah, and pools and mansions and things there. God damn it! It's a very pretty and actually very affordable place.
Yeah.
Too. Because no one sits there.
It's an ultimate.
Does that look ugly? Does that look ugly? This resort.
It's the ultimate hidden gem, like of places to visit.
It's just I'm mad. Like, is that ugly?
It's beautiful.
That is crazy.
It's wild.
And so one other one that even doesn't get highlighted because gosh, they rightfully so. I mean, there's some creatures on this continent creatures in this country that definitely need to stay where the fuck it is. But I want to make sure. I want to highlight. Where is it at? Cool.
Damn it.
Check it. Even in Madagascar, which,
Not the movie.
Not the movie.
Yeah.
There's giant.
Beautiful.
You see that? That's a city. That's
It's a
an
city.
island. That's on the island of Passion. They have towns.
They have electricity.
I mean, we've adapted,
Lightning.
or they have adapted,
Because, society.
right?
So it's like, there's. Oh, I'm whispering. Sorry. Cardo's like, is his mic low? It's like.
Interesting that I'm like I said, I got 3, and that's it.
Go ahead. Knock him out.
Do you think that there's a distinction between being black and African American? Y'all heard that before.
No, black African American in Africa.
I feel I feel like it depends on where you are.
And it depends
Right.
on who you're
Who
talking
you
to.
are. Yeah.
So, it depends on where your culture is. A lot of, there's some cultures in Africa who will come here and be like, we are African, we're not black, because of the media of, when I say it's double damaging, it's just the same way of how how black people view Africans view black people. In a way, it's like, wow, do all these things, and, at the upbringing can be different. Coming from someone who, I get to say it, truest definition of African American.
Yeah.
That's what I'm about to say. Like this,
We're black.
Yeah.
The truest definition of African American. Same shit.
But do you correct people when they say, "Oh, that you're a black man"?
No.
Do you correct them? Or you say,
I'm
"No, I'm
black.
African American"?
I'm black.
Yeah.
I'm African American. I'm African.
Yeah.
I'm all these.
All the
I'm all
above, yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
I don't like to have a separation in identifying the culture that we're all part of. That we just have different facets.
Why do you think people do that though? I've heard stories about African Americans saying, "No, I'm
Morgan
not."
Freeman.
Yeah. Well, like they're saying,
Yeah,
"I'm not.
like,
I'm,
no,
I'm not
never-
black.
I've
I'm
never
African
been
American." They'll say that.
I think it all just comes back to,
Night, Ricardo.
Ricardo. Yeah, it just comes back to some terms that we didn't have anything to do with.
It's just weird.
We
I was
didn't
just
make
like,
this up. Like,
Yeah.
we call ourselves African Americans. That was somebody who thought they were doing some shit that was politically correct.
Right.
Meanwhile, like actual people who came here from Africa, who are technically, by the most basic terms of African American, it gets jumbled up, which is fine because again, you'll still get called a nigga like the rest of them. Yeah, like so. That's why I never did that bullshit of like, oh, they're from Africa, they're not black. Like, no, the fuck, they're not. Just
I get pulled over same way, but
Right.
Looked at the exact same
But
way.
the whole thing that I like to say, and hey, respect to him as best as possible. I've always hated that when Morgan Freeman and people, I'm not African, I'm black. You're all of the above.
It's all the same.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
You have roots, and
Yes, and yes.
like you have a background that's there, and because
I had to get over that full acknowledgement because I'm just, because it was just like a thing like, never been to Africa. Because it comes at you in a way if you,
a lot of the time,
it's like,
hey, it's systemic. It's
sometimes you hear that go back to Africa shit when
It's like, go
we
back-
hear African American.
it comes from a
it
place.
seems like you're saying
it comes from a place,
Yeah.
and I'll toss it to you in a sec. It comes from a place of I've been blessed with the understanding from a very young age.
Yeah.
I've gone there. I've seen it. That Africa as a continent is where I can see my people.
Yeah.
I can see my people here. I can see all of these things.
Right.
I've seen the precipice. When you don't have that connection, you don't have that dialect. It's been lost over years, and there's no incentivization to go. It's like, why would I go there? I don't have any family. I don't have anything there. Like my ties are all here.
But that's where you're blessed with. You actually have blessed with 2 cultures, right?
Yeah.
Specifically, and that's where I think that's where you've been blessed with that specific aspect of it. You think of it from a different aspect than Tommy and I would.
No, and I totally get it because
Yeah.
because I mean, when someone says go back to Africa to you, you're like, what the fuck does that mean? When someone says go back to Africa to me, I'm like, and stay at a resort.
next
Like, I'm like, what the fuck you mean? Like,
I've been there, nigga. What
the fuck you mean?
Got back
But
yesterday.
it's all about this. It's all about this. To be European, not talking about people, European ideology, European American ideology that has created this discrepancy and created this negative connotation about Africa in general.
Right.
And so you're hit with a double whammy. You're like, first of all, I ain't got no ties to Africa, and I've heard Africa
This, that,
this, food's crazy, culture crazy, all these kinds of things. Until you become an adult and you're like, well, hold up. It's just like anywhere else in the world.
Right.
And actually most other people because America and my uncle, Clan, he comes here and he makes the joke, everybody in Africa knows. First of all, everyone in Africa knows how it's like. He comes in, it's like, Americans just think about, like, if you're in Kentucky, he says it like this, if you're in Kentucky, you just think about Kentucky. You've heard me say that. When you're here, you just think about here.
Yeah.
Right.
because it's brainwashed into you. Like you don't see the world for
The
what it
world's
is.
small.
Whereas you go to Zimbabwe and you go to Zimbabwe and even when you're putting your pennies together, even when you're doing things, you're like, cool, my family can go to a different continent, get a different African culture. A lot of times they go to the UK too, Australia. They go to other places, and the world is connected outside of the US. US does a horrendous job of encouraging connection with other cultures.
Hello, Idris Elba. I mean, that's a prime example of that UK Nigerian culture there specifically that we talked about as well too. That's why when I was laughing, like when people tell TJ go back to Africa, he's like, what do you mean? I've been to Africa. Like, what are you talking about? That's what I was like. It's different from you than it does for us.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
But I totally get the pain too.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a rocky place where there should be some people who'd be like, they look at my last name. Because look, I got James Eminem. Like I got you can hit me with both ends. I got biblical name, and then I got an African name.
Yeah, a name you can get a job.
I get a name.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
That whole
They're just
thing.
confused. They're like, where the fuck does this come from?
Right.
It's like Google search. Zimbabwean. But no. My whole thing is like one of the biggest, most prevalent things to come out of that perspective is some people have been like, wow, the way you present yourself, some of the ways you talk when I grew up, like you're not black enough, right? You're not into Jordon, all these kinds of things. I'm like, first of all, I am. You just don't know me. But like, second of all, it's because I grew up drinking tea. I grew up doing certain things, which a little bit of colonization from England's end, but or from Britain's end, but all of these things,
we're Christian, so
I get it.
Yeah, we get it.
But like when I tell people that, and it's like this weird mix of like not being quite African enough, not being quite black enough, and learning to that's why Blaxcellence Camp Out is me accepting I think African wise. Is one that I've even been working on to this day because I've seen. I'll put it this way: not getting married anytime soon. But one thing you'll go to and you'll see is if you've gone to an Indian wedding, if you've gone to a like there's so much culture that's driven there. And I said, you know what? Let me understand the nuances of tradition. So one day, whenever I may happen to make that choice, I'm going to apply that. I'm going to wear that authentically on my sleeve. Let me understand. And I've asked my parents, because remember, spoken word. I've asked my parents a lot more questions on and look, I love Africa, love my parents. Unless you ask, they just naturally gonna tell you sometimes. They set you up. Like I've asked my grandfather. I've asked I've asked more family members to be a bit more particular on some of the history that they share, so I can have a better understanding. And in the same way, I've done my due diligence to learn more about my black culture as well, because just as much I'm born and raised here. I'm Texas born and raised. Yeah. So everything that hits still counts towards me.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. That black culture aspect of, I always say, what is white culture? White people are made up of different European countries, right? So does it hit different when they say, what is black culture for you? Because black culture can actually mean something that from Zimbabwe, or black culture here in the U.S., hip hop, R&B, rap, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, does it hit different when they tell you about black culture?
And this goes into the broader perspective of regionality, right? I think we try and bucket so much under a singular label when it should be like, I think, and then that creates separation because it's like, hey, technically that doesn't fall into my bucket, da da da. And I sit there and I'm like, I'm black, you're black.
Right.
I'm African American, you're African American. Hey, if you really want to get into it, I'm African, and in some respect, you are too. So in that regards, when it comes to the cultures, black culture encompasses all of that.
Right.
Now, then you get into particulars like what's Zimbabwean culture?
Right.
What's
subculture, or
what's Texas culture?
Yeah.
American, Southern black culture.
Yeah, Southern black culture. Right. Yeah, Southern American culture, right?
Southern subcategories, basically.
Subcategories.
Yeah.
And no one wants to spend the time to break out the subcategories
because
they
ain't got
lazy.
It's not.
If it doesn't get covered in Black History Month,
it's lazy.
It's very lazy.
But it's these inherent derivatives that are creating the discrepancies and allows people to not accept this notion of, hey, like I said, we all, no matter what you want to, no matter if you want to fight it or not, you all source from the same region, continent. And it does, and even as someone who's from there, it takes work to understand and get that learnings.
Yeah.
But when I say it's a spiritual thing and you get there and something clicks, some just clicks. And this gets even weirder. It gets even more particular when you get into, because shoot, people want to exclude the Caribbean's culture as well.
Which is weird.
Haiti,
Dominican Republic. Hey, shoot. I'll take Brazil.
Fucking Brazil.
I'll take Brazil. We got black people
if you want to talk about, also, just side note, countries of histories you might want to just learn just from interest, Brazil's is very fucking.
You want to talk about the path of slavery? There's statues in Brazil called Olmec. They have wide nose. I mean, you can tell black folks, we have wide nose. They have statues.
It increases our breathing potential.
Right. But there's statues there called Olmec of statues with giant heads, wide noses. And I'm like, I'm assuming that in the path of slavery, we were there at one point.
Like, you look at America's diversity, the closest thing next to it is Brazil.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was thinking.
Black,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Like white people, like whatever.
That's
like,
crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. Right. So they definitely made a stop in Brazil for sure.
Yeah. This is where I get into the context of it's a weird precipice of being this weird nexus of like hitting a good portion of the African American African values and understanding, and it's also where I've learned how much work it takes to learn these things. But when you do, like, I mean, let's be real here. And I've been a big fan of today's conversation. It's invigorating to know. It's like,
absolutely.
Yes.
There's these things where it's like, when I say, I can't articulate. It's so hard to articulate. When I say you, I gotta say this louder because Sam's gonna be mad. Talking all that black gold, but you ain't talking into the mic. When I say that, one of the biggest things that, like, you'll just be walking around and you'll be like, and let me be real here, like, not every African country is safe. There's a lot of things you have to consider, just like anywhere fucking else.
Any other country.
People in Africa are still like, oh, you'd be like, man, they have pirates, all that type of shit. They come to America and are afraid of guns. They talked about gun violence here. So let's be real here.
A lot of people in this world that are afraid of America for that as well. They probably should.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that when you go and you're like there and you just look around, no one's just looking at you. Walk on the street, be like, what makes you special? They can usually tell if you're like not from the region. They're like, oh, you must be American.
Yeah.
All right, and walk off and look at you and be like, cool. They'll tell you don't have an accent until you speak. And speaking, they'll tell. But you'll just be like, huh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get why I'd want to know more about this.
Yeah.
For me, when my family got to the point in time where it was time for me to learn about my totem, you can bet your ass that I was like, hold up. There's a lot about myself that I guess y'all are just, respectfully distilling down to me when I get to that time. Yeah. And I'm like,
hopefully pass it on,
no, I mean, I have to.
Right.
And especially because it gets really interesting because I'm marrying someone or like I'm marrying someone potentially who'd be American, right?
Yeah.
And so whether that be white, Hispanic, whatever they'd be some sort of other background, which means that my kids carry a totem. Their mother doesn't have a totem, but then that requires me to actually be very more particular about, hey, let me educate you on these steps.
Absolutely.
So that way you understand where I'm coming from here. But there's so many nuances that, hey, like you go and there's different cultures have different instances.
Yeah.
Tom, you might go and be like, whoa, you might go and say, whoa, there's someone here that might kind of look like me. Or maybe if I understand what region I'm from, like there's something there for everybody.
Absolutely.
And people will want, and I think it's like a matter of like, part of that is accepting and embracing that just as much as you accept and embrace all the aspects of Black history. So it's just the thing. It's like accepting and embracing that there's just this vat of information that has been withheld of us that you have a right to. Just like you have a right to not look into. But I think you owe yourself, and this is where I will like put my input, you owe yourself to it. You owe yourself your due.
Yeah. No, and I think it's also a thing of legit if you've been, raised in this country, you've gone to school in this country to where be careful how I say this because I don't want it to be kind of misconstrued. Not like a shame, but like we got nothing. You have all this history. We talking about it, but it's kind of known as far as what you spread. Africa doesn't have history. It was Shaka Zulu. That's it. The Zulu Nation was like the only thing for the longest fucking time. I'm like, great warriors. Okay, I guess, yeah, cool. It was no mention of any empires.
No.
Or anything. Because we're a little older than you. It was nothing as far as I'm concerned. It was jack fucking shit. And it was always like a thing. We had that 1 week of slavery talk, 2 days really.
I hated that.
That was awkward as fuck. Needed to be said, the little that was.
Niggas would be like, hey, let me get you...
the only black kids in the class.
Yeah, they'd be like, hey, man, I'm not feeling it. You want my snacks today?
Yeah, you want my milk? You want my chocolate milk? Nigga, what?
Yeah, who was
absolutely.
Pre like
like reparation.
Fuck
right.
You. Yeah, just walk off.
That's another topic for another day.
Yep.
But history really being so large, our history, when I just say just history in general being so large, how do you regulate that, right? Because we talked about, or we heard stories about involuntary relocation, right?
Yeah.
We hear that specifically. We hear about the situation in Florida specifically as well too. How do you regulate that as to what do you teach in schools specifically? What is so, not demonizing, but what is so detrimental in regards to teaching us history as whole, but then regulating specifically what they need to teach in these schools?
Mandatory, rather. Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I think that you are required to do.
Show kids 12 years a slave.
At least year. Something like on the African culture.
To make it known of like, this wasn't okay. This isn't a debatable thing.
Right.
Well, like this it was what it was. This was an atrocity and it happened. It needs to be acknowledged.
But when we do talk about that type of history, we talk about the atrocity, the violence of it, but we don't talk about Mansu. We don't talk about that. So it's like, how do you regulate that?
So you don't want to teach us the truth, and you also don't want to teach us the positives of our history.
That's what's the scary.
You don't want to teach us either one.
Well, we do teach us the positive because slavery had a skill set.
Okay, it was DeVry University.
Right, but what was you about to say?
Like, get the fuck out of here.
Well, I think that my whole thought process on history teaching in general.
Right.
Get connected for free.
No. It was a brother that was standing outside a strip club. You sitting at home watching TV.
That was Everett.
It's okay.
Easy.
Right.
Gosh.
You ain't shit.
Everett did get sued. So, yeah.
Like, where's their brother today?
He had some residual
right?
Because every day during Maury and Jerry Springer, that nigga he was there.
Day.
Yeah, he was right there. Chastising me about not going to Everett College. Get the fuck out of here. You and DeVry. Fuck all y'all. And Education Connection.
Yeah, I always say this.
And J.G. Wentworth.
Oh, my God. But I always say that systemic racism is an education, right? That's where you start.
TT Tech.
Golly. But that's where you start. I'm going to end on two questions. I'm going to let you answer that first. I know you had something, but I was going to end on two questions. It's a two-parter.
Go ahead.
Why do you think countries now are investing into Africa? 1A. 1B will be is, what do you think of Africa now? Technology-wise, specific, because that's going to be the big thing, because there's a battle between Africa and India in regards to India has surpassed Africa when it comes to technology, and they're getting close to China as well, too. So what do you think of Africa now? And why do you think companies are investing more into Africa?
So,
is it an untapped resource?
Let me start from the top. But also,
TJ's a foreign policy guy here.
God damn it. Ever
That's you buy. You keep procrastinating over and over. Well, maybe I'll go to school next year. Maybe
you're at a strip club.
Right now.
You just got out of it.
Right. You mad because you had to pay for college tuition?
Right now.
I can see the glitter on you.
Spend all day on the couch. Anyhow, why don't you make a phone call that's going to help you in your next year? All you got to do is pick up the phone and make the call. Why are you making it complicated? It's complicated.
It's edited. Why are you making it complicated? It's easy.
It's easy.
That's the easiest money any spokesperson has ever made.
Nah, but this is why I said, when that other girl was hitting it.
Oh, the rapper?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's the one that stuck.
that's the one that stuck.
One that looked like Alicia Keys? Oh, no, that's not the one. This is a different one. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Hourly wage. I went to high school. Didn't do great. Still, I gotta make more cash.
Yeah.
Education.
When I get a degree, I will make a bigger salary.
So now I've got to see
Which college is right for me?
I went on the internet.
Education connection. I know the direction. She was hitting it.
White girl has some flow. She was spitting
Oh,
bars.
she was hitting it. She was hitting it. Oh my God.
Boy, that is nostalgia.
That is nostalgia.
God
Yes.
damn.
Bro, I sat there.
You give me some of that and you give me some BET Uncut. I'd be happy. I'm happy.
Bro, I sat there. I was a child. I'd be like, education connection.
I didn't give a fuck about the website. I just want to jam.
Yeah, I just want to hear the jingle.
Right.
Damn. Oh, wait. I didn't
It is
know
a Texas thing.
This is a Texas thing? Huh?
No, I think he was asking it, but I think it is a Texas
It
thing.
has to be, right? Or, at least
Or no, I think that has to be kind of.
No, it has to be universal. Come
I'm
on.
gonna have to look that up on offline.
Look, I didn't know. I thought J.G. Wentworth was just local.
No.
It's not.
J.G. Wentworth. 877 cash now.
Has anyone ever dialed it?
Yes, no. The opera
Viking,
singer. Jesus.
Oh,
And then there was I don't know if they had a lot of commercials like that, man.
Yeah.
Lionel Coin Bank, they had a bunch of shit.
a lot of the general insurance commercials. The worst CG you'd ever seen.
J.G. Wentworth. 877 cash now. Call Worth.
Go, what is it? To save some money, you can go online.
Right.
Call up the general to save you some time.
Oh,
that's
my
the whole
God.
thing.
Cheap as fucking
No,
commercial.
the knowing part.
Call the general, say some time.
But to answer your first
Not
question,
buying insurance from a
no, you would not.
None of them niggas.
No.
I'm only repping.
I'm taking my classes online. Getting my degree on my own.
Hey,
Did you ever
I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah, let it breathe.
College for free. Get
connection
for free.
with education connection. Get connected for free.
Well, we some sad Negroes today.
Oh.
Did you ever think how your life will play out if you actually did went to
Nah,
education?
you would have picked up the phone and
I want an education now.
Yeah, like really,
Or went
like
to educationconnection.com.
It's like the alternate reality. We still here. We just have monocles. Same ass place, just like.
So at my time at the University of Phoenix,
I learned I'm into.
The fry.
Trying to make it fresh.
finest full sail university.
yeah.
Like, nigga, who is you fooling?
Oh,
Shit, my bad.
Good.
This white girl got us talking. I was like, we're Africa.
yeah. Questions.
Get connected. Oh, okay. But to answer, like, to knock out your questions, number one, education. I've always said that what America. First of all, our education system is the worst. Like one of the worst.
Of course.
It's not great unless you pay and go out of your way for it. I've always said that it should never have it should be American history in cycles, right? But it's focused on American history like repeatedly for many years, and then spends time on state history. And I'm like, I don't give a shit about state. Incorporate that into history.
Right.
Texas is the only exception, in which case Texas
Don't give a
is.
fuck about that.
Yeah, I don't
It's a
really do.
lie anyways, yeah.
But it's like the only one that was technically a country before, so I'm like, okay, whatever. You
Yeah.
kind of get a pass if you want to put that as a class.
Sure.
But by the time you get to high school, it should be all world history based.
That's what I'm
all
thinking.
world history based.
Exactly.
And then you have that extensive like a year that is deep diving into different influences of American actual U.S. history, actual 1900s.
Not that much happened here. What?
Like-
Revolutionary War, slavery, Civil War, civil rights.
You got to put in Juneteenth. I know you said slavery, but you got to
Reconstruction definitely should be talked about.
Reconstruction. But wait, that's the interesting part as well too, because if we're just talking about history specifically, I think that they should have electives similar to how they do with college choices, right?
Yeah, literature.
Yeah.
I think history should be more encouraged.
Yeah.
More than just World
Yeah,
War II.
more than just World War II,
Yeah.
more literature, more and I don't want to stress those things are not important, but then I want to say that when you get to college, it should not be mandatory that you do US history again. What it should be
No, it
mandatory
shouldn't
is
be.
world, again, extending those electives, doing those culture and literature classes, so that way you can develop yourself into a better area.
Preach.
But ultimately, I think that it still goes back to a fundamental principle that our American education system is trash.
Well, I mean, TJ, when you learn about other countries, you see how other countries do things maybe better than you do them in certain aspects. And
well, we'll get over it.
No, but you'll see a collection of that, and you're like, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do it this way? Then you can't have that. So,
and you didn't see Tommy so considerate that he didn't he was counting and he almost put up his middle finger.
I did almost,
and then he was like, "Wait, no, I can't do that."
Children.
I saw that little hesitation. I was like, man, he's so considerate.
During this subject, yes.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
To your point, and then sorry, what was your first question?
So the first question is, what do you think of Africa now? Well, that's kind of like a last question, but the first question was more so, why do you think countries are investing?
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
So to your point, and I can actually, hey, you know what? Let's lean on, before I even give my opinion, why are countries...
The apocalypse, I completely agree about abolishing that.
I believe
and I will
completely.
100%, I will 100%, and I will do this as... I'm going to try not to get peeved, but okay. So investing in Africa is a sound business and sustainable corporate strategy. Africa is the most profitable region in the world. They don't tell you that, but it is. In between 2006 and 2011, Africa had the highest rate of return on inflows of foreign direct investment.
I heard that.
Africa's economic growth prospects are among the world's brightest. 6 of the world's fastest growing countries in Africa: Ethiopia, Democratic Republic of Congo, Cote d'Ivoire, Mozambique, Tanzania, and Rwanda. Furthermore, in Africa's growth prospects will be among the world's highest. Africa's growing youthful population amongst an aging population in most other regions constitutes a formidable market, whereas most other regions, and I want to say in particular, Asia was not good about this one, disenfranchised the birth of women a lot, right? Because they were like, there's periods like having kids. Not necessarily weren't allowed to have a bunch. It was more so like, hey, we want workers, we want all that kind of stuff. Africa doesn't fucking, you have children, have plenty, right? Youthful population contributes to the abundance of labor, which is one of the world's highest potentials of labor-intensive industrialization. Africa has the largest deposits of natural resources, promise to bring a bright future. And finally, emerging economic developments lead credence to actively engaging and actively engaging in economic transformation agenda. One other time, just to show you a map of it. Map of African resources, just so you can see. Pull this one up.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
That's in the same nations.
Petrol.
You get what I'm saying?
A lot of gas and petroleum.
Well, yeah, I knew about the gas, but that's kind of like
gold, petroleum, natural gas,
uranium, tobacco.
But that's basically the same locations as the kingdoms.
Yes. All the pink of diamonds.
Really?
Still gold. So this is still the top place for gold.
It's still top place.
That's what I was thinking. That Africa was top in gold as well.
What the fuck, man?
So then, on top of that, and if you were to pick a different map, it'd show you some actually different resources as well. So,
holy shit,
petroleum. This is why I said that Eastern Front.
Right I have a question I don't want to ask.
Salt, and you can even get diamond, zinc. Depends on the resources. This is literally a different map, and it's still highlighting. Like if you check on one, Zimbabwe's coal, Zimbabwe's zinc. If you check on map number here, which is Zimbabwe's platinum,
which is what U.S. was investing in Africa, like $500 billion that they did to help the coal thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Platinum.
It's useful. It's a use for them. So yeah, they will.
Wow.
So,
holy shit.
And here's a question I don't want to ask, but I have to ask it because looking at this map, there should be a fuck ton of black billionaires in the world. Something tells me there's not, though.
No.
Who owns most of these companies who go in and pretty much just exploit this fucking land?
So that goes into the broader subject. That's why there's so much economic strife in Africa, and that's why you hear it. A lot of the companies that come there are ripping the bet. This is the problem. Why they want to invest in it is to take advantage of it. So it's just going to create this cycle of historical disfranchisement that we've seen over the last few years.
Forever, actually. It's always a resource they want, even if it's people.
It's going to be continuous, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you get countries that are like China and Russia that'll say, hey, we'll give you the guns, we'll give you all the war.
Oh, no, yeah, Russia got real cozy with Africa.
Oh, yeah, China too.
China too.
Like, oh, yeah. Sure, whatever. We'll let you do your thing.
Yeah, the West.
Part of it,
crazy.
They get a benefit. It's like, cool, this pans out. We have another enemy against America.
Yeah.
This doesn't pan out. Hey, we have a person that we can rip our resources from. Yeah. So it's a double win, right? So, and with that, right, because a lot of the conservative values that are prevalent in Africa, it is easier to lean towards certain factions and corruption still being prevalent because human fallacies are a thing. It creates this discrepancy where it's like, hey, we'll invest there to get money. Now, what would happen is, like no one else will tells you, in plain and simple, I would say, hey, if every American didn't have the context that it does on Africa, investing there would be genius. More organizations should invest there. There's a lot of opportunity. Investing into the culture and the people will end up inevitably creating a society that will be new and something that we've never seen before. That's also why they don't even advertise it here, because then
to be the Fred Hampton of countries.
To be the Fred Hampton of countries. To be an encourager of, hey, you know what? Fuck all this fighting. Y'all guys can actually take over and dominate if you guys were to band together and actually fruitfully. But they encourage the strife. They encourage a lot of the miscommunication, and they encourage some of the discrepancies that cause so many different facets of war. So why you want to invest in it? Because the motherfucker is full of potential and money. My family will be the first to tell you. My family will be the first to tell you. My mom will be the first to tell you. Spend some time, invest money. It's not the most difficult thing in the world to get involved in the resource trade there. If you were to do it, it is part of how you get bank in Africa. The reason why I'd be like, oh, you'd be like, Taylor, why don't you? I mean, you'd have to. She's obviously like, no, I mean, let's be real here. Like, she's like, don't do it. You like, corruption. You have to shake some hands and not be a nice guy.
Yeah.
But there's so much opportunity, not even just that in land and understanding, but people look at it for their own benefit. And what I would say is, if you were to invest into land, it's something that, in my 30s is like a real big goal of mine outside of just establishing my foundation is really like driving investment and focus points in Africa. You hear me speak about it all the time. Africa could be huge for tourism. Yeah. Africa could be huge for resources. Africa can be huge for all of the things that it's not being showcased for now, because it just, all you get seen on media is so many different negative aspects and connotations. And it really pisses me off, because I sit there and I'm like, yeah, what you pointed out, resources mapped to the kingdoms before, and these kingdoms could come back, hence why it's like, let's get our hands in now. And all they've changed is the reins. It used to be Europe. Europe got free, right? Europe got, like a lot of countries got rid of and got their independence throughout the 1900s, weren't given the tools and understanding of how to properly run an government and all that kind of stuff. Still trying to figure that out. Yeah. China, Russia, India, all these countries are like, oh,
trying to put their influence in,
you don't like white people, rightfully so.
Right. Come on over.
Hey.
We got you. I won't even say, like, I hate to say it, they are playing to like some pretty fair things. They fucked you up for years.
Yeah. Come on.
We got you, pal.
They can simply say the truth, and it kind of is like, you can't say that's not true.
But the way you're saying it though is because I know a previous show before that we talk about generational wealth. It sounds like that can also be a factor to generational wealth as well too.
You are creating. Oh my God! Let me.
I know. I'm like.
I mean.
TJ, I'm clicking. It's like I'm clicking. The cogs are moving right now.
Think about it. If we weren't fucked with, and we had these resources, how many families would just be sitting pretty on like diamond mines?
True.
And, gold. True. Fucking gold.
And this goes
the one thing that doesn't expire ever.
Right.
100, 200, 300 years from now, gold is still valuable.
Relevant.
This is the whole thing where I was saying, like, look, and this goes back into the American ideology. If more people were comfortable traveling the world, traveling to Africa,
they would see it.
Being like, oh, snap, I can put money into here. And if enough of us were to put money into these places,
great investment.
This would be an amazing thing for us to build off of, create economy, generate these, bring in influx of money, so that way these countries can be less, like have less corruption, have more societal, like entice, and I'm going to fault the governments of a lot of these African countries because they do not make it enticing. But if you were to have that investment, that active stream, with people who have a genuine interest in mind, that's a benefit of both ends. It's like, hey, I want to build my family, and if I start new, I could probably do that. And it's like, cool, let me advertise, let me have that marketing. Like kind of how like it needs someone who's popular enough and is willing to take the publicity aspect enough. Kind of like how Saudi Arabia is doing right now.
Yeah. You would think Akon would be that person. You see how Akon is actually doing the work. He wants to build a fucking Wakanda in Africa. He wants to do that. So it's just like, why are we not following steps at this particular point? That just seems like,
and like Dubai is a great example.
We get caught in our stupid.
That's where I'm. Yeah,
no, Dubai's,
to answer your question.
You're smart. No. You're right.
Dubai is a perfect example of like it's man-made from just money. It's a money city. They built a city, a modern day city. That's from their wealth, and just like you can picture a lot of Africa looking very similar.
You would think that Wakanda would inspire people to be like, you know what, I want to build this on my own.
Actually build it and name it Wakanda.
Right.
Yeah.
You would think so, but I think that, TJ is correct on that. I think that we're just either not educated enough or just don't want to put in the work to educate us.
It's like it's just, even if we want to know.
It's a blind spot.
It is a blind spot that someone put up. It's like a sheet someone has put up on the world of like, no need to look behind that. It's nothing.
Boy.
Reconstruction. Do you think, though, TJ, it's going to be like a boom at some point? Or you too, Joe? Like,
I think it will.
Because it's just something about this world where it's things that are untapped. Eventually, it's going to come around. And there's just a habit of world history of fucking over Africa and exploiting the shit out of Africa.
And I think that maybe part of it, too.
Next time it won't happen the way
why is the U.S. investing specifically? Maybe because of like, hey, there's a history here that we fucked up. We need to invest.
So let me put it in perspective so that way I can see like when people don't think of the opportunity, just because it is a lot of uprooting. Don't get it twisted. Why don't more people move internationally? It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But when you start to get into things, credit's an American-based system, fun fact.
That ESG bullshit.
You can have a clean start. Your life can be very different. There's a lot of options for how we go about this, but let me genuinely show you. Okay, so, and this is me just looking it up, pulling it up. I'm using Zimbabwe as an example. Right here. $70,000 to get 1,800 square meters. You know how much that goes in square feet?
What?
That is, you could build the equivalent of a 19,000 square foot home because 1,800 square meters is 19,000 square feet. You could literally, for the amount of land to build a mansion on, that would be the land that you get for 70, in which case you get something here and you'd be like,
we build apartment complexes.
Yeah, you can't buy a home or
you have 50. You have 50, an option for developers. You want to know how many square foot that is for $50,000? Not to say go over there and start doing this. That's 2 acres. 2 acres of land. Let's see, a 2-acre plot. Texas, just to kind of give it a nice translation.
Which is the cheapest of the country, probably. Just for comparison here.
I'll have to look that up on the side, but you get what I'm saying. There's a lot.
But TJ, I don't want 2 acres. I want my 40 acres in a pit bull.
And actually, I think that was inaccurate, to be honest. I do not think. Let me do a unit conversion real quick.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah, well, it's something we never got, by the way.
No.
And a few of us that did got stolen. Reparations. We got to talk about that.
That's what I was like.
Not
that's
today.
That's a whole different topic, man. That is...
To me, real quick, just a preview that, I guess, the 40 acres and a mule thing was always the one thing. It was like, well, we didn't get that, so lawsuit,
But, look, if you want to do something like Harare, right? Let's say you don't want to get land. I'll show you. They actually have the investment properties here. You can view them. I'm going to pull it up. You can just get a nice house for, a livable situation. I'll show you. like with the livable situation, because they're developing this out. I'm gonna mute this. But you know, a nice little situation here.
Okay.
For like you know, 25-50. So
that.
Yeah.
Jesus. Why are you still living here?
How I get that money.
Okay.
So
Right.
it's like, and also, I mean, I have like international investing is a next year goal.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes.
Can we learn
Keep
that
us
together?
in the loop. Yeah, right.
Definitely.
Please, TJ's the economics. You know, that's your background, right? Yeah, teach us
Finances
to do that.
is my game. Yeah. Economics is my name. Finances is my game. No.
Not the white girl from Education Connection. Come on, TJ, make the song. Let's do it.
Now, hey,
shit.
does this
That a pool back
Yeah.
there?
Do these properties look bad to you?
Looks like a place I'd like to live.
But they kind of look like the Austin houses here a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
These
much
properties
cheaper.
Look bad to you?
With
I don't think
black
it-
people surrounded. Hey, Jordan. Jordan, no one's going to call the cops on you in the neighborhood.
Right.
Like, you
We
know,
see a bunch of niggas.
So you talking?
Well, so do I.
You talking about a 3-bedroom? You mean a 3-bedroom villa?
That's beautiful.
For
It's
you know,
gorgeous.
6,000, you know, 6,200, depending on the time of period you're getting it. You want to talk about for sale, like the houses and land? Like, I'll show you pictures of my uncle's house off air. Like, you know, you want to talk about compounds? You want to talk about the whole nine? Like,
That's actually not beautiful.
like these are actual like. So then, yeah, when you're paying U.S. houses, right? That'll get you a nice little. How do I put it? That'll get you like. So this is like a house in
A
Austin.
3-bedroom.
I'll get you like that's a house in Austin.
Too bad.
This is the space that you're getting though. Like you get like the whole
It's a compound.
yeah, this whole compound. Like you get all that. Have a house in the back if you'd like to. Like it's that type of shit. And you're forgetting that really the biggest thing you're paying for is the expense to live there.
Yeah.
Outside of that, your overall cost of living is significantly decreased.
Of
Meaning
course.
food, internet, electricity, all those kinds of things. There's other considerations. It's not perfect. I'm just showing off some things. But I just wanted to showcase that, hey, that's Zimbabwe. That's because I know that. South Africa is a little more expensive, but it's also just as beautiful. Tanzania has options. Tanzania real estate is actually Tanzania
That's
real estate.
Ghana real estate.
What's up? Ghana real estate. Ghana real estate. Not Shauna. Hey Shauna, what's up?
Shout out.
Properties for sale. Ghana is a little more developed, so it has a bit more money in it, but it all looks pretty. How do I put it? Let's go with land. Well, actually, you know what? That's a good one. Let's do something like this.
That is incredible.
But these are like luxury homes that, like, you know, because the economy
That's
here is
nice.
again kind of cray. But yeah, you can like build things if you want to go a bit more modern, right? And yeah, it's low in the millions because it's Ghana money.
Yeah.
I can, what is it? Let me look it up. Ghana to USD. Oh yeah, okay. So if we did,
Yeah, what's $100 get me in Ghana? What's that the
so
equivalent
let's
of?
say $1 million Ghanaian is 87,000.
Okay.
So in perspective here, like, you know, that's a high rise, you know. Here we go. We talking like condos like that, you know,
Yeah.
which in US condo like that ain't 80,000.
Hell
So
no.
I'll put you on game right now. Put
Yeah.
you on game. But like you think about these sort of things, and if you guys ever want me like, and I think I've asked this before, but if you ever want me to do more of a financially and economic focused kind of podcast conversation, let me know. I'll definitely do an episode where I just spend and kind of give an actual
Black mad money.
general
Yeah.
breakdown of like my thoughts through investment. I'm not accredited. I have to pause that. But I will happily share, you know,
Absolutely.
what kind of tips and things I've learned in my readings, and also share and some of my best friends. They are you know, both masters and like we have fluid discussions about certain things. I have some friends who, one of my other best friends, he has 2 properties in Austin, like currently, and he bought it, and he's like, he used the money from the first one to get the second one, and knows how to
smart.
Loans. Like, I'm always happy to share my insight, but finance is all about the conversation and the evaluation. But going back to Africa, right? You have these reasonable properties that you can say, and then the real thing is when you start to invest. And this is where the combination comes from. If more people were to invest, more people would have investments and have stake. Once you have stake, now you have to actually say, fuck, I have to put an encouragement, an actual background, put a little bit of money into marketing my stake. Okay, so now that I'm marketing my stake, I'm encouraging more people to travel to this country. When you encourage more people to travel to the country, your influence,
building
the
tourism.
economics. Once you influence economics,
the narrative changes.
The narrative changes.
True.
It's up to the people who are willing to take that sort of gamble, that nuance, and understand the grand vision. I don't like to put people on game all the time, but my parents, my mom has land in. You would assume my family has land in Zimbabwe, a lot of land.
Nice,
but my family will be the first to tell you, my mom has always encouraged me to invest in Africa. Invest in Africa. Trust me, it'll just work itself out. I think more people need to see it. More people need to have the opportunity. And she grew up there. She knows it from her roots.
Of course.
And she'll encourage anybody, but invest in Africa, while you can, while you still can, while you can think about those things. Now, of course, I don't think it would be international. It's not the first investment you should ever make. I don't think it's
start small. Yeah.
Start small.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Unless you have, and you only invest whenever you're comfortable. But these are things and considerations that you can make that are like, ooh. This is when you start to build out that full-on portfolio of things. That said, thank you guys for letting me gush over Africa. Don't worry, I will be. I promise. I'll gather these links. I'll share them with everybody. I'll DM you, put them in Discord, make sure everyone has them. And if you guys appreciate a conversation like this, I said this was a part 1. We'll spend some other time actually talking about more of the fun things. Like I want to talk about foods, foods, music. African music is a cool perspective because it goes into Afro beats and a whole thing that you.
That's
would
my shit.
Oh yeah,
I love Afro beats.
And then And then if you were seeing Afro beats, you're seeing beautiful African women dance, which, I'm not going to say no to. But yeah, I would love to make sure that every once in a while, in between when we talk about all the Black culture stuff, which is important to me, this is part of Black culture too. So I'm glad I was able to share. And I'm so happy with the chat. Y'all were dope.
Killed it.
Y'all were killing it.
History.
Really appreciate it. Y'all were Apocalypse, Serenity,
all over the place.
Koopsie Daisies, like all of y'all were in there just having vibes, and I love that.
Hell yeah.
And so give us feedback. Hey, if you want to send a DM to Sam, you tell him this one was fun. Let him know. We really appreciate it. Thank y'all. We went a little bit long. I was having a good time.
That's fine.
My bad.
You good?
But ooh, I've had the y'all getting the serious tone a lot today. I've had the so according to my calculation. He said, according to my nuance.
He's brain. He's literally brain.
But we out. We out here. We out here. Say bye to the people.
Goodbye, everybody.
Peace, nigga.
The music should have been on that.